Good night, Barbados. Good night, Barbados. Are you excited as I am excited? It's a beautiful night. It's February 28th, Wednesday, February 28th. It's 7 p.m. in beautiful Barbados. Where are you watching from? I'm in beautiful, beautiful Barbados. Don't be jealous now. Don't be jealous. Don't jealous me, as the Nigerians would say, my Nigerian brothers and sisters. And tonight, I tell you, I feel like a warrior. I feel like a warrior. Listen, look what I got in my hand. Lashes to you, man. Lashes, lashes. When did you see lashes fly like that in Parliament in the last, what, 5 years? In the last 5 years, you ever seen any lashes like lashes, man? Pure lashes, lashes in the tail, lashes. Listen, that's what we call an opposition in Parliament, and that is what we want. We want the answers. This is the man here, Kimar, has been asking some of those same questions from me. He published this book about white oaks. Do you realize the power of the opposition? Do you realize the power when we have an opposition of integrity? What can happen? Kimar published his book in 2022. You hear what I tell you? And there he was, the leader of the opposition inside the parliament, asking questions that were in this book by Kimar. I say lashes. And to the people and to those, I came on fiery tonight. I didn't even greet you all yet. I didn't even greet you all yet. And to those who are saying because Mr. Thorne decides to choose a party that they're not with this kind of opposition at all, I say to you that you are hopping on the wrong truck. You're splitting hairs. That's what I say to you. Because let me tell you something. What happened in Parliament today is an example of what we need in Barbados. You heard me, loyal daughter 66. Good evening. I came out and I lost my manners. Loyal daughter 66. Irving Nurse. Good night, Marcia. Keep the pressure on from Brooklyn. Yes. Janetta Calendar. Oh, my Lord. I tell you, this is what we talk about. And this is what we, the loyal opposition, what we have been doing. Now, the thing is, Alice, we have been doing this outside of Parliament. Those questions that were raised, we raised some of those on the show. Okay? But here is Mr. Thorne in his given authority and position and rightful position is able to raise them in Parliament and share out the lashes. We've been given lashes on the show, and he's able to go into Parliament and share out the lashes to these ministers, and they deserve it. We have been paying their salaries, and they don't want any accountability. And on top of that, talking about the first of this month that they are going to get a 3% increase. Where? What is the work that you have done in here to get that 3%? We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about that tonight. Marcia, Marlene Seeley, Denzel Grazette, Hasbro. We're going to talk about that. 8787, Clive Osborne. Good night. Good night. Good night. Yeah. Yes. Good night to all loyal sons and daughters of this mighty opposition. With faith, all mountains can be removed. Let me ask you, be honest. In the last 5 years, did you hear anything like that in Parliament? You hear anything like that? Colin Jordan cannot answer the question. The man asked him a straight question. He can't answer it, but we're going to get in. I'm running ahead of myself. Good night. Let me welcome the people. But every time I see the strap, I get excited. Every time I see this, I get excited. Yes. Denzel Grant. Sir Alfred. Yes, Sir Alfred. Yes. Locked on from Brooklyn. Good night, Gelbiz. Yes, nice to join everyone. Let me tell you something, Gelbiz. What happened in Parliament today? Say what you want. I don't care what color the party is. If he join an orange party, a black party, a white party, I don't business. The point is this, that these ministers are being held accountable in Parliament, and we can listen. Somebody standing up to them and say, answer to the people of Barbados. And I say to Barbados, if you can't understand that, it means that you have still not come out of the frame of this party. We are still lining up behind color. I don't care. And I tell you, I don't business. It could be, the party could be black. He is a leader of the opposition for Barbados. Yes? And what he's in there and he's echoing what we want to know, Natasha. Yes, there. Rose 511, Marlene Pinnock. Yes. I hope we can play a bit of it tonight. I hope we can play a bit of it tonight. Yeah. So that's fine. Patrick King is okay. He's doing his show. God bless him. Yes, Rachel Thornhill, Glenn Griffith. Yes. Don't follow those things. We are focused on what we are about, the people of Barbados, and we will stay focused. Yes, we stay focused. We're not gonna worry about anybody. Hey, CG, good to see you. Good to see you, Rachel Thornhill. Yes, no wonder he was falling asleep yesterday, because listen, they are so boring. That is when you hear the sound of boredom. Boring, because you are not, I would have been watching that. Dead boring. As he says, all they do, he says, he uses a term, I have to find it, that he used on them today. They congratulatory orgy or something like that. That he's saying. I see Mr. Franklin. I soon let him come in there because I have to do up the anthem. But good night to everybody. I lost my manners tonight, but I want to thank you all for joining. Edwin Price, Alvin Simpson. Oh, yes. That's what we call the leader of the opposition. They can't match that man. They can't match him. And he's doing it for us. Yeah. Everton Hunt. Yes. Yes. Listen. I am grateful for it, and I don't care what people want to say, that I'm supporting whatever. I'm not supporting nobody party. I am supporting the concept of an opposition. And you can't tell me today that you watched that today. Tyrone was watching from Calgary, Alberta, and you didn't say to yourself, wow, this is what we have been missing 5 years now. Every one of those ministers are going to be on their toes coming in there. Yes, they are. Yes, because somebody cleaning the temple of the corruption. Somebody cleaning that parliament of the corruption. Somebody taking up a rod and clearing out that parliament of corruption. Yeah, somebody doing it. Yeah. All right. So let us play our national anthem. We're gonna play the national anthem of Barbados. people. Yes, my people. This is what it's all about. This is what Mr. Ralph Thorne was defending in the parliament today. It's Barbados. He spoke up on behalf of every single one of us. This is what he was defending. And this is what we defend here on the loyal opposition. This is it here. This is it. This is it. Yeah, this is it. We write our names on a history's page. We write our names on a history's page. We will stand for Barbados. We will stand for Barbados. I am standing for Barbados. Are you standing for Barbados? Will you stand for Barbados even when it seems difficult? You know, I know you all don't like some of you when I mention any Bible on here, but Esther said, Esther is a girl in the Bible. Esther said, listen, if I perish, I perish. And I'm here to tell you, Marcia Weeks is letting you know, and the Marcia Weeks show letting you know, if I perish, I perish. But you know one thing that's going to happen is that I'm going to die empty. I am going to die empty. Everything will be poured out right here. I made up my mind, Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin going to come in now. Mr. Franklin, I made up my good night, sir. Let me tell you this other thing before. Listen, I made up my mind, Mr. Franklin, that I am going to die empty. Miles Monroe, Mr. Franklin, have a saying that says the graveyard is the richest place on earth. Because all of, our ambitions, all of our purpose, all of our destiny is right there. And I want to tell you, this Marcia Week show, this Mr. Franklin that you see here, he's going to die empty. Right, Mr. Franklin? Good night. I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
I says I'm almost empty now, but I'll get some more. And I'll have some more for you tonight.
Listen, Miles Monroe, I don't know if you ever heard that saying. Miles Monroe said the graveyard is the richest place on earth because of all the purpose and all the destiny that's there. And I say to all, almost 600 of you watching at 7:14, that you have logged on because you understand there is a sense of purpose to what we're doing. I went into the supermarket this evening, Mr. Franklin. The people are coming up and letting me know I am part of the loyal opposition. That's what the people coming and telling me. Rasta, bald head, everybody. They understand something. They understand there's a sense of purpose. There's a sense of purpose. Yeah? And we are standing up for righteousness. Good night, Mr. Franklin. How are you doing tonight?
I am so good. Marcia, I hate to use the show for my own personal things, but tonight I'm going to ask you for some indulgence because it's personal to me now, not personal to the country. And I already sent you in your WhatsApp, I sent you the certificate of registration for Unity Workers Union. And now I am going to send you a letter to the from the chief labor officer that I got on Monday by email. So MB. All right, and you should have it now. All right.
Okay, I'm sending it off to the technical person to put up for us.
All right.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Those
Franklin.
two things will give the deceit that was practiced in the house today about Unity Workers Union and Caswell Franklin. Even though they didn't call the name, they call every other union, and to say that this union is not compliant. I'm going to explain to you, and I'm going to demonstrate it using the law where my non-compliance comes. All right? When I moved to Belleville, I did not send in the notice of change of address.
Yes.
So that is one round of non-compliance. I it was negligence on my part. I know I was supposed to send it, but I'm busy and I just overlooked it.
Yes.
Right? That is one. The other one is that my accounts have not been submitted on time. That, according to the Trade Union Act, I have it here with me, Section 32, for the people who want to read the law and follow it. It says that a general statement of receipts, funds, effects, and expenditure of every trade union registered under this act shall be transmitted to the registrar before the first day of June in each year, and that statement, and it says shall contain whatever it should contain, basically accounting information. And then it goes on at subsection 4 that says that if you do not file, you can be convicted in the magistrate's court and a penalty of $25. All right?
Mm-hmm.
One, I rarely admit the accounts are not up to date with the registrar. That is true.
Let me just say something here, that this is something that that I know that you said to me that you are working on. I remember that.
Yeah.
So when I heard it, I said, "Oh, Mr. Franklin is working on that," because that's something you and I had a discussion about.
Yeah,
And you said
I've been working on them for a
go
little while
ahead.
now, but I am not the accountant, and I have someone doing that for me. And that what jolted me into moving faster. I always had them in train, but what caused me to ask the accountant to step up was that the Minister of Labor went to the Labor Department and gave instructions to Labor officers to go to corporate affairs to check me out. He forgot that I have ears in law places and corporate affairs people to call me and told me. So I started to step on the gas to get it done. So there's no question of if Unity Workers Union is qualified to represent people or not. I am registered under the Trade Union Act. And the most they can do to me is to make me pay $25 to the court. Now, if for some reason I refuse to do all that, the registrar can send me a notice requiring me to file by a particular time and giving me a reasonable time to comply. And if I don't do that, then the registrar can strike off the union. But it is not an automatic thing, as these people will want to give you the impression to scare people that, oh, Caswell can't represent anybody. I understand why they're doing it, because they're scared of me. The minister went on the radio on Brass Tacks on Sunday, and they pointed out to the country that he was talking rubbish. And of course, he ain't gonna like that. And then again, you will see a letter from the chief labor officer to me. Now, if I am not compliant, and if I am not all of these things that they're alleged I am not, why would the chief labor officer be writing to me asking me to comment on legislation by tomorrow?
Hold a second, Mr. Franklin. I'm not yet seeing the letter. So what I have up on the screen for those who are watching is Mr. Franklin's registration to work as to be for his union, to be the validation of his union. I'm trying to find the right word. Okay.
Registration.
Registration of the union. All right. So that is what is up there. And as I said, it's something Mr. Franklin said to me, that he has an accountant working on getting his stuff up to date. All right. So this is something that Mr. Franklin had been working on, actually. But go ahead and send me that
I sent it to your email. I sent the letter to your email.
To my email. So if my
Yes.
technical person could go to my email, go to the email, and just put up the letter on the screen. So let's go back and put up the registration so that the entire Barbados will know that this is the union that was voted in by people of Barbados. 73% of persons in Barbados said this is the most trusted union. All right. So I want you to know this is the most trusted union. Yes, and this union is growing more than any other union in Barbados. So understand what is happening. Okay, so let's just put up the. Oh, I think we have a little difficulty today. But continue. We're gonna get it back over the screen.
So the question of not all these things that they're trying to give the impression, and they spent 10 or 15 minutes, I'm not sure, because it's being reported to me, and people sent me WhatsApp clips. I didn't hear it for myself. I only got the clips. This, what is going on in the House, is supposed to tell the country how the government is going to spend the money that we pay in taxes. That is what the estimates are all about. What, and the government don't spend any money on me. The government don't spend any money on Unity Workers Union. So why is Unity Workers Union being featured in the estimates? They don't give Unity Workers Union a cent. When they offered me a duty-free car, I refuse to accept a duty-free car from them because they can't ask me to account for anything. So I am not taking their little things, because right now, like some general secretaries, I'll be driving a Mercedes Benz now. I drive an old Toyota Suzuki Swift. That's what I can afford. So they saw me and they said, offered me a duty-free car. I said, no, thank you. Now, the letter that you see here is from the Chief Labor Officer, and she sent it to me on the 20th. It is by email. Why she had to email it? Because she called me, her secretary called me on Monday to say that the Chief Labor Officer wanted to speak with me. And I said, I have nothing to say to her. She's dishonest. She went on the program and on the radio and tell lies about me, saying that what I was saying was untrue. And I will not speak to her after that unless she apologizes. So all of them getting together now and trying to make me look bad. First of all, one of the things that she was saying in the thing is that you must have 50% plus one to be recognized. That is nonsense. There's only one place in Barbados now where Barbados Workers Union has 50% plus one. That's at the port. In the hotels that they're making so much noise about, the hotels have 14,000 people and they have 434. So if 434 is 50% plus one of 14,000, then the hotel should recognize or should deal with Barbados Workers Union. That's not the case. If you have a single member, one single member, okay, and you go to represent a person at his workplace, you do not have to be recognized as a trade union to represent anybody. You could bring your grandfather, your old aunt, the fellow down the road at Landau. You can say, but you know something about representing people like kids, come and go and represent me. The employer has to accept you. So it's not a question of recognition. What you're recognized for is collective bargaining, so that you can get terms and conditions for the workers, the whole group of workers, everybody. But they can't stop me from representing workers if they have disciplinary hearings, grievances, or anything of that sort. It is only that I'm not representing the entire workforce, because I don't. And the employers, there are some employers that say, don't worry about the 50% plus one. It is not a law. It is a practice. That's the practice in Barbados. So when I hear an attorney on Sunday saying is the law, and now you understand the Chief Labor Officer says so today too, she has to go and review the law. There's no such law in Barbados. None whatsoever. Right? But they want to give the impression that I don't have enough people that I recognize. That is not so. If I were not recognized, why would the Chief Labor Officer be writing me, asking me to comment on legislation that they sent to me on the 16th of February and asked me to comment by this following week, on the 23rd. Of course, I don't sit down and wait for the Chief Labor Officer to write me. And they wrote me on the 16th, delivered it on the 16th, hand delivered. And while I was sitting down in my office, the messenger came in, the phone rang. I was speaking to some person. My assistant said to me, the labor department was calling. I answered. It was the deputy chief who was asking me if I get a letter yet, and the message came the same time. And they wanted me to respond. It is to the Protection of Wages Act, and they are asking me to make comments. One of my comments would have been, I'm going to comment to them now, would have been that this is the Protection of Employers Act, not the Protection of Wages Act, because they have now raised the amount of money that an employer can take from your salary if the employer owe you money. Because once upon a time, the amount of money that you could have taken out of a person's salary in all was a third of his salary because the person still has to eat. Now they are saying to you, in addition to what other things that you have coming out of your salary, like national insurance and income tax, on top of that, you could still take out a third. That's what this government is doing now to workers. So if the employer can end up leaving you with nothing. If you have, let's say you have a mortgage, national insurance, income tax, and that take up the better part of your salary, then the government is now saying that employers can take out a third. Once before, all of those things amounted to a third. There couldn't be more than a third. Now they are saying, in addition to those things, they can take out another third on those. And that is one of the things that they wanted me to comment about. So they are trying their best to destroy people who stand up against the government. And I can't say I'm ashamed of Abrams, because he was the fellow designated to lead the charge against me. Because let me say to him, he should be more concerned about what's going on in his ministry than what is going on with corporate affairs and me. Because right now, if the corporate affairs get involved with political action against me, I can court with them. Because that's not their job. They can't go there taking instructions for politicians to do something with me. But what Abrams should be concerned about is the death in Glengarry and Dodge prison, rather, about a guy called Sean Hinkson, who was denied medical treatment for over a week, and he subsequently died this Saturday night in his cell. He is supposed to deal with that. I use that to blackmail them into giving me an inquiry into the prison. The same Abrams, and I turned around and I drafted the terms of reference of the inquiry and give them to him, dictated them to him. Let him deny all of these things. I said, well, if I don't get, then I get McNugg's book, Sean Hinkson. So they did the inquiry and then make it secret, says got national security implications. So tell him to tell Sean Hickson's family what really happened, rather than come and deal with Caswell Franklin because I am late with my income returns, or that I didn't send in my return change of address on time. Right? So them is the two things I'm aware of that I am not compliant with. So if that is something so big that it has to take up a part of the estimates, which is really the government's budget. When the government is deciding what they're going to spend and how much, and then they're looking to see how much they're supposed to get, and as a result, the difference between that, according to the estimates itself, is almost $1 billion that the government got to look and raise taxes. They can't raise $1 billion with the $25 that they owe the government for late payment. So I don't understand why they would want to deal with it. They want to embarrass me. I am unembarrassable unless I do something by myself, and I do it to me. They can't embarrass me. Let them deal with their own problems. I am not their problem. I might make problems for them because they stand up and they talk about the things that they're doing. Just like I just tell you about Sean Hinkson. He should be dealing with that. He should not be out there. So, I am not asking you to call any names, but just call the names of the people who are compliant. No? Is he compliant, and is the prison compliant when it comes to the death of Sean Hinkson? Sean Hinkson died. Sean Hinkson went to the medical unit in the prison, complained about pain in his stomach. They sent him back. He went back. The officer took him back again. They sent him back. He went back the Thursday. Then he told them, he said that he had blood in his mouth. They tried to wash it out with salt water. And then the man lay down in his cell and convulsed until he passed away without medical attention, without even somebody getting a drop of water. And the prisoners were in there beating on the door, trying to get assistance for Sean Hinkson. And he died. Because and Abrams walking about the place worried about me. And because I ain't sending my returns, or I ain't submit, not even returns, that I supposed to file the accounts, and then I do my change of address. It's $25 a piece. That the magistrate filed me $25 I pay.
And the important thing is that, as I was saying to the audience, that once I heard about it today, I said, "Oh, Caswell was saying to me, that because we were talking about how the union is growing and so on, and you said, you know what, you've got somebody to help you to finish up some stuff that you have to, that you have to submit." I remember that, and so once I heard today, I said, "Oh, that's the thing that Caswell was telling me about." So I knew that there wasn't any impropriety. I know the kind of person that you are. And you know the funny thing about it, I called Rachel today. I called Rachel. Remember, this thing happened in Parliament this evening, and I called Rachel. I'm going to tell you what time I called Rachel today, and Rachel was just thanking you, right? I called Rachel today about 11:40 a.m. just to see how she's doing. And she was just saying that things are moving. Of course, her current situation, she's getting ready now. She's trying to get a new apartment, right? And I said to her, Rachel, once you get a new apartment, she said, I'm going to need more furniture and so on. I said, Mr. Franklin and myself, we're going to do whatever we can. I even told her if we need to write ports, we will write ports, or to get a bed for the children and so on. This is, and those of you who are listening, Rachel is, let me just give them, Mr. Franklin, take a pin there. Let me talk to the people about Rachel, right? Rachel is a young woman, 28 years old at that time, who fell in a 30-foot well. A young woman who was working for the government. That this same government that is in there talking, the same Colin Jordan would have been, he's a minister of labor. And this young lady was working for the government, 28 years old, fell in a well. Why did she fall in the well? She left and was gallivanting. Why did she fall in? She should have been at work and she fell in the well. No, she went to wee wee. She went to wee wee or pee pee because they had no toilets for the workers. Mr. Colin Jordan and the government of Barbados. This is what you do to your workers. You are the worst employers. This young lady went to use the bathroom and had to go and use the tree, bend down behind a tree because they were cleaning the roads. And the one young woman fell in a well 30 feet. And what happened? According to this lady, I am reporting what she said to me. She told me that all she got was some dried up fruits in a basket. Am I right, Mr. Franklin?
Correct.
That came from the Prime Minister's office. That's what she got in the hospital. Broke up her foot. Thank God she was alive. And all she got was some dried up fruits that this government did to this young lady. Okay? That is what happened to her. Right? She got some dried up fruits in a basket while she was in the hospital. And her NP told her, Hinkson, Edmund Hinkson from the same government, as reported by Rachel, that she should be lucky that she had a job. That's what that was reported to us by Rachel, that she should be lucky she had a job. And they also told her that they're not responsible. They are not responsible, that she was a contract worker. They told Rachel, who fell in the well, who was employed by them, that she was a contract worker. This government, because they wanted to ensure that they did not pay her anything. And you know who stepped up for her? Mr. Franklin, and called that wonderful reporter, Mariah Agard. I believe Miss will tell me her name. I don't want to call the what's the name? Maria Bradshaw. Why would I forget that wonderful lady's name? Maria Bradshaw carried that story. She carried that story because Mr. Franklin gave her access to Maria Bradshaw. So Maria Bradshaw carried the story so this woman could get some help. Remember, she was working for the government that they provided in this day and age. The incident, I believe, occurred in 2022. And in this day and age, you have workers working and you don't provide any bathroom for them. They have to use the tree. She has to stoop down, drop her underwear in the bush in this progressive society. That's what you need to start to be speaking about. And it was this Mr. Franklin who got Miss Bradshaw to write an article so that the world, Barbados could know about it, and the diaspora and Barbadians jumped in. And you know what we did through the show, through Mr. Franklin's help? The people in the diaspora, I have to give you a big up for this. They paid all of the money for her therapy, for her foot. They paid it on this show. It paid already. She went to do the therapy, and they said there's a steel in her foot that they need to take out. So the money was paid already. I have the receipt for it. The doctor will tell you that the money paid by this show. Not only that, Mr. Franklin make sure that she had an open door policy up there. This young lady, because in her current situation, she would need some help. She can walk in, right? And she told me she went there, and Mr. Franklin tell her, fill up your bags. Fill up your bags with stuff, right? Fill up your bag with stuff. This is the same young lady that the government refused to take care of. Refuse. I'm talking about the care. This government cares. Refuse to take care of. Mr. Franklin also went and pleaded her case and wrote to the NIS on her behalf. He was doing the work of Mr. Jordan. He was doing the work of Colin Jordan, Edmund Hinkson, and all of those. And he got that young lady the NIS benefits that she's supposed to get, because where they said they were not giving her in the first place. And Mr. Franklin went and got it done. And you know what he said? He said, Marcia, I do not want one red cent from that young lady. He did not take one dime from that young lady. And she's still waiting on the money. And you know what this government did? You know what this government did? Can you imagine what this government did? When they found out that, okay, they decided, okay, they realized they had to pay her out through NIS. They realized that, you know what they did? They cut her benefits. Her welfare benefits got cut. There, Mr. Franklin go again to make sure she can cover her monthly, everything that she's supposed, we tried. And we came to you guys and we told you, and the diaspora and Barbadians, local Barbadians helped again. And this is the same government in there talking about, employee rights and all of that. Really? Really? Rachel wasn't an employee. She wasn't an employee. When you had left her to go and drop her underwear in the bush in 2022 in this progressive country. So while Mr. Franklin is waiting on all of his accounts to, for the accountant to complete what he has to do, he is still working and helping people. And one thing I can tell you is that this is a man of integrity. I know, I know. I learned from him. I would tell you more that I am a Christian, and Mr. Franklin probably would not use that terminology. But when I go to his office and I see the way Mr. You go up to Mr. Franklin's office, you can barely even see anything on the floor or behind him. He has sneakers and boxers and new things to give away to people. He has a whole room that look like a supermarket. He take up his little bag, the same little bag that they tease him about in Parliament, in the Senate. He goes in his little bag and he takes out all these little all these vouchers. I said, "What you doing with those vouchers?" He said, "It's the people when they come, I have something to give them." That is the man. Yeah. So I don't care what they are going to trump up, because trust me, they are trumping up stuff on me as well. And all I'm going to do is laugh. I told you already. I done in Jamaican. I done dead already. Let me see. Kimar, I think he's ready to come out. Huh? Not ready yet. Listen, I done dead already. I dead already. You could do whatever you want to do. It's not going to stop me. You can't stop this mouth from opening up. You could do whatever you want to do. You understand what I tell you? So we understand what is going on. And my turn is coming. I can tell you. Yeah. Easy. They said, where was the people's representative from that parish? Exactly. Edmund Hinkson to represent that young lady. He was nowhere to be found. The MP was nowhere to be found. Huh? That's what. And I'm glad that Ralph Thorne is there. I am so glad that Ralph Thorne is there. Yeah. I am so glad. I am so glad that he's there. He's calling them out. Let me say Mr. Franklin's ready to come back in. Give me a thumbs up, Mr. Franklin, if you're ready to come in. Yes, okay. Yeah. You know,
They are saying my accounts are not up to date. That's what the offense is. It is, they are not, and that's the truth. But ask them whose accounts were not up to date and who did not pay any taxes between 1968 and 2000. Ask them whose father did not pay a single cent in income tax between. And the thing is, my accounts don't require me to pay any taxes because unions don't pay taxes. All right? So I am not cheating the government or any revenue or anything like that. It is just that they want to take the information and put it in a file in case somebody
right.
wants to see it. That's all it's done for.
And you are working on that. You're working
Right?
on it.
But you have a situation where people did not pay. But from the time I was 10 years old then, between 1968 and 2000, did not pay a single cent in tax. And these same people that are attacking me went to the house and voted to write off those taxes. You know? Why did I want to vote to write off my returns? You know? But I was in existence. My union was in existence for 1968. And the thing is, it is not a single cent that they have to pay anybody. You know, it is just for them to have a record that these things were done. That's all it has been done. Nobody ever. What it is, I have to pay is national insurance because I have an assistant. My admin assistant. Her national insurance is up to date, not even paid late. It is up to date, and I paid every cent for her. All right. This same government, for hundreds of people in Barbados, did not pay a single cent in national insurance. I went on the calling programs, I complained, I went and I do everything. I forced them to pay national insurance for these people, including Rachel, because Rachel they don't pay national insurance for her either. So when they are complaining about me, stop, take the mope out them eyes, leave me alone. Let me do what I am doing. I am not committing an offense. I am not breaking the law and killing people and robbing the body. And I'm not doing anything immoral. But they spend 10 minutes out of the estimate's time so that they can attack me. Okay, they can attack me. And the estimates are not about me.
Mr. They can't deal with Mr. Thorn. They can't deal with the thorn that is, sticking them where the sun don't shine. So then they take it out on you. Mr. Jordan could not. I can't wait for Kimar to join.
Now
They cannot deal with.
let me finish.
Yeah.
Tell Jordan to keep out of recruitment places. One of the same people he had at the House of Assembly today, giving evidence, was the wife of one of his canvassers, who then maneuvered into becoming the director of BEC, Barbados Employment and Career Counseling. Didn't qualify for the job, wasn't entitled to it, but she in it. Her husband canvasses in St. Peter. Tell him to deal with those things. Leave me alone. I like the young lady, as a matter of fact. But the question remains, why is he attacking me? Mind you, yes, I said things about him, but all are true. I have not said anything untrue about him. What he wants me to do, sit down and pretend?
Let him go answer Mr. Thorne. He cannot stand up to me. Did you see what happened? We're gonna get to that. But they will have to turn on you inside there because you're not in there. But Mr. Thorne is in there. He cannot stand. He can't even walk in Mr. Thorne's old shoes. Okay? He can't do it. So therefore you are not there. You are not there, and they decide that they are going to attack you. And I tell all 1,000 of you and more that they've already started on this woman you see here. But I wanted to let them know, Mr. Franklin, right, that they could do whatever they want. Throw it all at me. Make sure it's true, though. Make sure it's true. That's all I can say to you. That's all, because we're not, I'm telling you, we have so many things to deal with that we're not even going to waste any more time on these people, right? Yeah, they're scared of Mr. Thorne, but they can't deal with him. He was inside there bucking, buck, when Mr. Thorne was dealing with him today. Let me see if Kimar can come in. Let me see if Kimar is able to come in. We have some stuff to deal with that Mr. Thorne raised. Yeah, what's going on? Okay, let's see. Kimar, you there? I see Dr. Ferdinand as well, but let me bring in Kimar. Kimar, you there? Can you open? Kimar is having trouble, folks, coming in. Hello?
Yeah, I am here. Yeah, I'm here, but I get a lot of noise. And it's sticking. It's quite slow. And the neighbors will say having a party, by the way. So quite a bit of noise. So just hope that you bear with me tonight.
Yes. Yes, we can hear you so far. Do you have on a virtual background?
Can you hear me well?
Yes, I'm here. We're hearing you well.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna try all kinds of things. So yes, you're sticking a little bit. Go ahead. If you want to turn off, let's turn off the camera and see if that might help Kimar.
I
can't hear him. All right. So while Kimar worked that out, let me just bring in Mr.
I was listening earlier.
Okay.
To CASWELL and
okay. Kimar, I would suggest that you turn off your camera if you can hear me. And so let's talk with Dr. Ferdinand, and let's see if Kimar could turn off his camera and come back in. We want to hear you, Kimar. We want to hear you. Good night, Dr. Ferdinand. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I trust you're hearing me all right. My system is running okay. Well. Good evening to the loyal opposition. Good evening, CASWELL. And good evening, Marcia. A real joy to be back with you all today. I'm not normally on Wednesday, but after the estimates today, I felt an obligation to support my friend and my brother CASWELL in the matter. You know, I hear people clutching at straws. You know, I don't know if you remember that old saying, CASWELL. People catching at straws because they can't find something substantive to engage you with. And Marcia would have no doubt that they will try to find something on you and they will try to find something on me, because that's how you try to negate the influence of an individual by chastising and trying to, as it were, say things that would damage their credibility. And I don't know if I should say, CASWELL, I'm disappointed at Colin. This is one of the reasons that people don't like church. This is one of the reasons. He is an elder in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And even if he has a grouse with you, there are ways that we function as believers. What is clearly evident is that Colin seems to have lost the ability to represent the kingdom of God as he ought to in the House of Assembly before the people of this country. And I'm embarrassed, to be brutally frank, because if I was in there, I would have to carry myself with better decorum. I listened to a bit of it, and I heard what was said. I have heard you speak this evening concerning your explanation. And all I can say, CASWELL, Marcia, is that they're clutching at straws. This program is creating problems for them. Mr. Franklin is creating problems for us. So how do you deal with the problem? How do you deal with the problem? You try to discredit the messenger so that nobody listens to the message. That is what they tried with Jesus. They tried to discredit him so nobody listened to what he said. But unfortunately, they were not able to discredit him, as they will not be able to discredit us. You will catch at straws, but at the end of the day, I like that picture.
Put back up that picture. Put up that picture. Don't it, CASWELL. CASWELL. They're taking out what? They're taking out what?
Who came up with that? Who came up with that? Were you, Marcia? That looked like you. That looked like
listen to me. They are taking out all that is happening. CASWELL, they're taking this out of you. They're taking this out.
Well, I heard this show mentioned more than once without calling the name. And I don't know if what is the purpose of the estimates. I listened to the people sitting in front of the members of parliament, and as far as I'm concerned, they should be speaking to the expenditure that has occurred, and they should be speaking to the budget that is being proposed from their particular ministries. If a question is that, look, the question was asked last night of the Minister of People Empowerment by the leader of the opposition, which he has not answered up to now. The question that was asked was if the $500,000 that was being given to the non-governmental organization that looks after the homeless is something that they are going to be giving every single year. And up to now, the minister has not answered that specific question, which is a political ploy. They always defer. And he talked about the 250,000. He talked about the addition to 150,000, but he has not answered the leader of the opposition's question. Is it a figure that is going to be given to the particular NGO every year by the government? We don't know that yet. We don't know the answer to that. And I paid attention to that. I am happy and thankful for my good friend for the help that he is getting. I listened to him today on Brass Tacks, and there's quite a bit of things he said that I was in agreement with. But you spoke to Kimar, Marcia, and I am interested to hear his input.
Yes.
On the entire matter. I'm curious to hear his input.
Yes, he's gonna Kimar is gonna make an input, and then we're gonna about this CASWELL matter, and then we're gonna bring on Joseph Cadogan, and then we are going to get into by Joseph Cadogan, we're going to get into some of the things, some of the other things that were done at Xmas, because one thing they're not going to do, Mr. Franklin, is to let us use the show and talk only about this one. We have so many
No,
other
we
things
have a lot of other things to
to
talk
deal
about.
with. So let me hear Kimar. Good night, Kimar. You look brighter, so I think we can hear you now. Ah,
He's muted. You're muted.
no, he's
Not
not.
hearing you.
Uh-uh.
Volume, no volume.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
you hear
Fair
it
enough.
now.
yeah. Good volume.
Yes. Yeah. Well, good night again to everyone. Sorry for the technical challenges. These things do happen. But I fear that tonight specifically, these challenges are happening because of what I have to say. Right.
Oh dear.
I just want to address something quickly before we get to that. Pastor Ferdinand, you started off by saying that Colin Jordan is a Seventh-day Adventist. However, I'd like to distance him from the Seventh-day Adventist Church and not to convolute or confuse the opinions of the church with Colin Jordan. He's a politician, right? That is his day job. So, church, he doesn't have to do it for him. Church is his extracurricular activity. So, we say that he's a politician, a Barbados still party politician, and I'd rather us deal with him from that perspective as opposed to dealing with his church, right?
That's fine.
And I listened to the conversation, and to my surprise, look who's up front. Wilfred Abrams, right? Look who is up front, right? I tend to withhold my comments on him because I don't want to go down the line where they will put some letters in my tail. But I think that the time has come now where we unleash what we have to say in Barbados about Mr. Wilfred Abrams, right? Because he should not be attacking anybody in the politics of Barbados, right? Because his name is on a website. A guy, Kenneth Rejox, a financial crime blog circulating all over the world, right? His name is on there. I'm saying allegedly that Wilfred Abrams, and I could read it for you here, Marcia. We're going to try to get it on the screen.
Right. So you're reading something that was printed, and this is not, this is something that's out there already, and you are commenting on something that you've seen out there. Okay, so let's just make that clear. And these are allegations. Go ahead, please.
Yes, because we don't want any letters. So allegedly, as you can see here, as we scroll down, if you scroll down, that you can see his face properly. It says here Wilfred Abrams, Minister of Barbados' paragon of corruption, right? And it says here, for starters, on exposing institutional corruption within Barbados' government and judicial system. Meet Wilfred BLP MP for Christchurch East, Minister of Home Affairs, Attorney at Law. Prior to becoming minister, allegedly, they're saying that his actions could be best described as the neighborhood alligator or Jaws swimming for his next prey, right? And they are alleged, remember this is on a worldwide website, a guy who was caught for money laundering, and he's now turned a new leaf and he's working for the FBI and other persons. And he is saying here that as an attorney, he was known to wheel and deal on both sides of the law in his corruption racket with high-ranking officials within the Barbados Police Service, and that they would false arrest innocent citizens. And then he was stepping as a victim's legal defender and shake down the families for thousands of dollars. It is right here on the internet. These are not my words.
Let's qualify that. We don't know if where this guy has gotten this information from, but you are commenting on something that you just saw on this website, right? So we just want to
Yeah.
clarify.
Yes. Right. That is what he's saying. If it was false, he probably would have received some letters, and the government would have tried to gone after him to try to shut this down, because this is a minister of the state or minister of the crown, and these allegations are being put out there. And it is saying here, Marcia, that confidential sources from within U.S. law enforcement has said that Abrams has been on their radar since 2018 for money laundering, conspiracy to facilitate the delivery of narcotics to the United States, among many other.
I'm wondering if Mr. Abrams has seen this, and if Mr. Abrams, if you're listening to this show and you've seen this, I don't know if you have seen this. We would love if you can come on the show and you can let us know, because we don't know if this is correct. It is just something that is being read off of a site, and we are using this forum because I know people from the government watch the show. I personally would like to know if this is so. I don't know of Mr. Abrams to be doing anything like this, but this is what this man is saying on the site. These are his allegations, right?
Yes, and these are some very serious allegations to bring online. If you do not have proof, I'm positive, right? So this guy Kenneth Rijok, who's working for the money laundering officials over and abroad, is saying here that Mr. Abrams is on the radar of U.S. law officials, right? So before he deals with that, he's allowing people to make him a mockery and coming to the parliament of this country to be attacking Caswell, a man who's doing justice for this country. And what is he doing, right? He should come and tell the people of Barbados that it was him who allegedly led off these negotiations to privatize the Barbados Water Authority. He should come and tell us that, as opposed to getting in the parliament of this country, taking the people of Christchurch East for a ride, and he should address White Atlantic Breeze, which is in his constituency. The people up there have rotten houses, and up to now, he has not stepped in to defend those people, but could be wasting the taxpayers' money, getting in the parliament of this country, trying to attack Caswell Franklin, right? But Dale Marshall is out, so he's now the acting attorney general, so he feels empowered. He feels empowered, right? And that is why they could have empowered Khalil Coffee-Waller to be in Christchurch East, saying that they want to pass a bill to stop people from attacking Wilfred Abrams. He said it right out of his mouth. And that is why, because Wilfred Abrams has a lot to answer for to Barbadians.
Well, Kimar, this is why, because we don't know if this Kenneth Rijok financial crime blog, we don't know how credible this source is. And that is why I am saying that it would be great to have Mr. Abrams to come on the show to, in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write him an email and ask him about this blog that was mentioned here, because I don't know if this is a credible source, but it's out there on the internet. And so it would be great for him to come on here, Kimar, and be able to let us know, because I don't know, we don't know how credible that source is,
I said the source might not be credible, it might be a complete lie. But the thing is that as a minister of government of Barbados, and something like this goes up in a public place, he should clear his name. He should have at least tried to contact this man, get his lawyers in Barbados to contact lawyers overseas to sue this man or something, because he should not be a minister of the, well, I can't say crown anymore, of the state, and have these things swirling about him. Look, to show you how really serious it is, to have these, a minister is supposed to be like Caesar's wife, beyond reproach. And when you get caught or there's an allegation against you, you're going to either have to clean it up or leave office, because the office, it doesn't. John Perfumo, back in the 1960s. He's a British MP. And he said to the House of Commons that he did not have a mistress, outside woman. And when they found out, he had to resign because you can't have scandal attached to you as a minister of the government, as then Her Majesty's government. And you have to go something as simple as having an outside woman. So this is worse than outside woman. The way you're accused of money laundering and all kind of stuff, he should deal with these. But while at it, I have a WhatsApp message from Wilfred Abrams on the 20th of April 2022. It says, "Good afternoon, Caswell. I would like to call you this afternoon to discuss the proposed terms of reference for a departmental inquiry into the operations of both prison and GIS, government industrial schools. Please let me know when it is convenient. It is a convenient time to call, because they wanted me to do these terms of reference. I did them for him, and that, Lord, I don't even want to call it. He's done is attacking me, because I had written to him further, and I said I would not speak to him since then because he was dishonest. I said here, I don't mean to offend you. It is interesting to note that you are now telling me that you know your responsibility and that the matter will be investigated. You and other ministers, including the Prime Minister, are in the habit of wholesale cover-up when you are fed false information by senior public officers. You, for example, went public with information about 3 prison officers that could not be found. You have since learned that this is not the truth. What steps have you taken? Have you condescended to apologize to them for exposing them to ridicule and contempt? It might not matter to you, but that incident has considerably lowered you in my estimation." And they said that is not the reason for the veiled threat. I simply don't trust you anymore. When you were appointed as Minister of Home Affairs, I convinced those 3 prison officers and others that you were a man of integrity that could be trusted. They are no feeding back those words to me, since many of the things that you said at those press conferences in relation to Dodds and prison officers were totally untruths. They believe that you did so deliberately. The jury is still out with me on that. And they said, I have no confidence that you will protect, and they call the name of a particular prisoner, since your performance to date only suggests cover up. I will not apologize for the threat. It was deliberate and calculated. This was a prisoner that informed me that they instead of bringing alcohol and soaps and medicines into the prison, they brought him body bags. And when that prisoner informed me, they probably checked the logs or whatever else, and they beat him to a pulp. And but they figured I only had one prisoner informing me things. So another prisoner contacted me to tell me that they beat him and put him in segregation. So that is when I wrote to him and pointed out what had happened. And they said it is a myth that my informant, he won't know he didn't know I had informants. I ain't gonna know that. This man has covered up so much in the prison, so much bad behavior. We had a senior prison officer that not only he and all of them know about, who got a Jamaican prisoner pregnant. Them me doing nothing about that. But they're gonna come and attack me. I was mild on this program, I was keeping it calm. And people thought that I had a lot of stuff. I got a lot more. They don't tell them don't trouble me, because I will talk about the rest of the things that I do know. Yeah. You see, so he's begging me for help. Yeah. This is a person who and registered and recognized and all kind of stuff. Nonsense. Tell him to leave me alone here.
Yeah. Mr. Franklin, I tell you something. All of this here is so for us to to forget about the questions that Mr. Thorne was asking about the management of this country, right? And what it costs spending, the kind of the you know, he was querying some of the spending of this country. And there is Mr. Joseph Cadogan, who is on the program right now. And Joseph Cadogan is very very interesting person, because he is a Barbadian and was living in Canada, and he came to Barbados, and what he did, he went underground as a homeless person, undercover I should say, as a homeless person. And so Joseph Cadogan is on the program tonight, because he had started to send me a lot of things that he was finding out about you know, homelessness in Barbados, and about grants, etc. So when I saw what Mr. Thorne was speaking about today in Parliament, I then I said to Mr. Cadogan, I would like for you to come on, because now if someone, Mr. Franklin and Kimar, could be willing to go undercover as a homeless person, right? That is quite interesting. And so I wanted to hear that from him, and what did he find out about how Barbados deals with homelessness, um, you know, and also about the Barbados Alliance to End Homelessness. So we want to hear about that. Mr. Thorne, welcome, Mr. Cadogan, welcome to the program.
Yeah, welcome to everyone. Can you all hear me well?
Yes,
Yes.
we're hearing you well.
Good night.
Yes.
Okay, good night, Mr. Franklin. Good night, Mr. Ferdinand. Good night, Mr. Kemar Stewart and Marsha. Well, as you hear, yes, I did went. Actually, I was roughly about 10 months underground. The reason was that for I never really came to Barbados actually to get involved in the homeless, but I got involved when I got here, when I was here, because a lot of homeless people, I heard them crying out and talking about this. They're not getting this, they're not getting that. So I said, well, they have a homeless shelter here. Why don't you guys go to homeless shelter? And everybody refused. So I have to say that while I was investigating, I found out quite a few things. First, I go back when I heard of when the shelters opened up and started, and I trace back from there. There are dates that I come across where basically the homeless in Barbados, I listen to numbers being put forward. I spent time around from St. Lucie, St. Peter, St. James, Christchurch, St. George, and I did those numbers myself and just having numbers, right? And I came across like basically Barbados does not really have a serious problem, as they would put it, where it comes to homeless.
Mm,
Barbados have a problem where it comes to housing the homeless people.
mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to providing for the homeless, there's a lot of things that I was told personally. And things I told, I don't really like to repeat them. I like to find out things for myself. And I mean, when you get 20 people telling you certain things, you got to think about it and you think about what you're going to say. Now, during the course of that, I came across three entities, which is basically out of Miami. And one particular came to my mind, which is the Community Partnership for Homelessness in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this organization had roughly 8,000 homeless in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And over a 5-year period, they has brought it down to 800.
Okay.
So what transpired, I realized that the Barbados Alliance for Homelessness in this country took upon itself to go to Miami and got involved and find out what the programs they're doing and how they get this homeless down. So in that essence, that was supposed to come back to Barbados and implemented here. Now,
So
what I'm talking,
let's clarify. So the Barbados Alliance to End Homelessness, you are saying, do you know this of a fact that they went to Miami to study what they did to reduce their homelessness from 8,000 to 800? You
right?
have, where do you have
Okay,
evidence of that?
I don't have the evidence where it states from Miami giving me that. No, I have contacted them. They are going to send me an email, which in the course before the end of the week, detailing certain particulars to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I contact them and told them what I was doing, they says to me, we will send you documentation
Okay.
to back it up. But what I can say to you is that the homelessness here in Barbados did publish articles where they say they went to Miami and they were involved. If you will look at the Barbados Today newspaper, which is on September the 27th,
September
which
27th, is that
yes,
okay? Let's see if we can get that up on the screen.
September the 27th, 2012.
Okay, all right, keep going.
Is it 2012? Yes, 2010. Sorry, it's 2010. And that paper and there it states how they went to Miami and how Miami bring down the 8,000 to 800. And by doing that, they were supposed to be getting funding or sponsorship from Miami to create a home here in Barbados to actually tweak what Miami is doing for the homeless here in this country. Now, when I go on and read further, I came across another article where it states that the Homeless Society, which is August the 15th, 2011, in the Barbados
which
Today.
Paper is this? August the
This
15th, 2011. So let's
this
go
is
over the papers that so September 27,
2010,
2012.
2000 and September. Let me my notes here. Yes, it's 2010.
10.
2010. September 27th, 2010.
And then August 5th, 2011.
Now, when you go to August the 15th, 2011, you would see that in that paper it stated land was purchased here in Barbados, right? And this land was purchased to create residence, which is a land was purchased in St. Philip specifically, and this was to create a special facility to house the homeless people in it.
Okay. This was since 2011.
Correct. Now,
Okay.
my concern, questions I want to ask is whether or not this Barbados government put money in to this society to purchase this land to build this facility. That was a concern I had, right? And by saying that, if this was supposed to be done back then, and they went to Miami and study and train for this, then how come this has not been put in place as of yet? Right? When
So
you look at
you're saying that there's no facility built in St. Philip for the homeless. So I don't
that's
know.
what I'm saying.
I will ask Mr. Kimar Safri because you're saying the Barbados Alliance. You said that they said they bought land.
Yes, they said they bought land. Once you go to the newspaper on the 15th of August 2011, you will see it on page 52.
Okay, so you're wondering where if it's done. Well, we don't know if they probably started building. We don't know.
Okay, but Marcia started building. This is 2024.
Oh, okay. 2011.
From 2011 till now, right? When you go back and you really look at this whole scenario here, back in January the 26th, 2011, they were all talking about funding for the homeless for a 24-hour facility. Right? And this 24-hour facility came back way back then. Right? And it was supposed to be back up. This 24-hour facility was supposed to be up and running since in January of 2015. And we are here in 2024 talking about funding to the homeless society for 24-hour facility. Now, 2015, this is what he said in the newspaper on the Barbados Today, which is January 30th, 2015. $30,000 to start up. a 24-hour facility, and this is going to include beds and all this kind of information, beds, furniture, and stuff for this
But
24-hour.
the thing is, what we don't know yet is whether or not he had actually received the funds to do the.
But that is what I am. That is the question. That is what I'm asking. Did he
So
receive these funds? Remember, I am not saying he received it. I am saying to you, did you receive these funds to do this?
Oh, I understand you now. So you're saying, you're asking, did he receive the funds to buy the land? Did he receive the funds to set up this 24-hour facility?
Back in 2015.
Yes.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because attached to that in 2015, you were supposed to be getting $6,000 a month for maintenance of this building. That's all I want to know. Have you been getting this? If you are, then why is it now we are in 2024 and we are looking for major funding to produce a 24-hour facility when this was already done years ago? That's all I want to know.
Yeah. Well, someone is saying here that he probably answered the question already. Kimar Safri said he did not get any help for 15 years, but he got help in the last 2 years. And Pete Way is saying that the building they seek to purchase now is the one on Spry Street. That the house the homeless at this time. The organization was fundraising for the purchase from around 2015 and to 2016.
Okay, I understand that. That is something I understand that. I was getting to that, but that is something I don't really want to part of. But what I'm saying here on the show tonight, that you are telling me that on the 15th of August 2011, you purchased land. Remember, I'm not talking about no building or purchasing a building.
Okay.
You purchased land to build a facility. And my concern is, did the government back then give you funding to help you purchase land to build this facility for the homeless in St. Philip? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, this person is, well, yeah, he would have to, let me not try to answer for him. That person will have to, I know Mr. Rav Thorne was asking specifically about this 500,000, $500,000 that he's saying was given to this charity, and they wanted to know, what has happened, and to give some kind of accountability for it. I know that that might sound like a lot of money, but when you're running a charity, something like that, it's really not a lot of money. But so I'm not sure, is that what you're also asking about?
That is what I'm asking, because when you go back and look at these numbers from all then, there are sort of these things that we are facing now. We should not be facing them now. Right?
Can you give us those dates again, please?
All right. The dates for the land, the 15th of August 2011, Barbados today.
And the one in January 26th?
January 30th, 2015, startup homeless 24-hour facility.
Okay, and you mentioned one on the 27th of September 2010?
Correct.
Okay.
27th of September 2010, you made a way to Miami for contingency. That means you went into a program. You went through the training in the program to bring that training back to Barbados, because you saw where the society had 8,000 homeless people, and within 5 years, you bring it down to 800. Now, if you went into that program and you study what that program did, and you said to bring it to Barbados and tweak it into this Barbados society, there is no reason why we at this stage in 2024 having a major problem complaining about homeless not having house or residency.
Okay, so that is what you're concerned. You're concerned about
that is my concern. That is my concern.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
I want to make it clear that I am only dealing with this year. I still have still got up to present to deal with. But that is documenting right now, and I'm doing a couple of research. I want people to understand that I am an environmentalist. I am here in Barbados. I am also a cybersecurity, but I also look at other issues that address with people with children and also the homeless society, because I have very close ties as membership with the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness with Ground Zero.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why I got into it, because the same facility, I've been to Miami and I saw their training and I know what it does
Okay.
very well.
Well,
Right.
someone is asking here, Pete was saying his question to Mr. Safri. If funds he received were used to create other businesses not beneficial to the homeless, but to him personally, they're asking that question. Well, only Mr. Safri can answer that question.
Only Mr. Safri can answer that question. On another stage, on another venue, I will deal with other issues, and that where I have documentation. But unfortunately, I left my laptop in Grenada, and I don't have it here with me because I work between Barbados and Grenada, and that is something that I would address at another stage, another time. But for now, I just want to add these few little questions, because why I brought this up is because of this flying in Parliament with this 500,000 we'll be getting from the government, that kind of stuff. That's all I'm dealing with right now at this stage. But there are other entities that I would address.
Yeah,
There's
Marcia,
other
I can.
entities. It's not just this particular entity.
It is
Okay,
not
well,
just.
yes, thank you so much, Mr. Cadogan. For one thing I want to ask you, you said you went underground as a homeless person.
Yes.
These were some of the things that you discovered. What is there anything else you discovered as you became homeless?
There's a lot of things I discovered. A lot of things I discovered that I need to present, and I need to put it on documentation. I need to get some documents from different entities, documents from outside of Barbados, not only here, outside of Barbados, right? Where they are attached to different people, different entities. That's what I waited on, because it opens up a lot of kind of worms when it comes to the homelessness in this country. Right?
Yes, yes. All right. Somebody here is saying that got to be fair, Matthew. We show Safri organization must be audited. It's true he has other businesses, only an audit can, of course.
No.
This is why I said that this was raised today in Parliament, Steel Pulse, and so we are raising it on the show and asking questions about it, because if it is true, what is being it's nothing to be true about Mr. Thorne is questioning the spending, including the newspaper said it. So I'm commenting on something in the Starcom network newspaper.
Also,
yes,
also,
Starcom network news, I should say. Yes, go ahead.
yes. Also, I want to let the public know, right, that my problem I say, well, he went underground for 10, or why is he coming with this now because of Parliament going on? It's not because of Parliament going on. It's on another program where ICE was listening to. And I heard him says he wants out of the business, he have other entities to deal with. That is what really peeves me, because you are dealing with a homeless society. You got other businesses. Something will lack. Something will lack along the line. When you got other businesses, 2 or 3 businesses, that will lack along the line. You cannot run in a data facility, just do statistics, and you're in the homeless, because that shows red tape. That brings up a lot of red tape. There's a lot of questions I can relate to that. So when you do that and say you want out of the business, that tells me that you were never had a passion to help the homeless in this country. That is what I have to say. Out
of the business, he meant homeless business, or out of his other businesses?
He have other businesses. He has other businesses. But what I'm saying to you is, when you could say on another program that you want out of this, you want out of it, it doesn't make nothing for you. You got other entities to deal with. That tells me that you never had a passion to deal with the homeless society. That's only my opinion.
Okay, but I mean, yeah. So we would of course would like Mr. Safri to be able to answer these questions. I know that before anybody was talking about homelessness, in any big way, Mr. Safri made this something that we were talking about in our home. So you have to give him credit for that. But as Mr. Thorne is asking those in Parliament about this $500,000 payment to a local charity, he wanted to know more about it. And so, as the people in the opposition and the money spent, we want to know more about it as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Okay. But thank you so much, Mr. Cadogan. Thank you for
No
for
problem.
being on. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Do you have anything to comment on, Pastor Dr. Ferdinand? You're muted.
I said while he was speaking, I was actually going through the archives of the Barbados today to locate the particular stories he referenced. I found the one regarding the trip on 2010 of some 40, I think it's 20 something people regarding training in Florida. You know, I heard some comments made today by the minister, or was it yesterday by the minister, to do with if the government had to do it, it would cost them millions of dollars. I have had a personal exchange with Mr. Safri myself, and he had indicated to me that I think they were trying to raise $1 million to purchase that building. You know, I commend him for the work that he's doing, but I believe that there needs to be a significant degree of transparency, which was what I think Mr. Thorne is calling for, because money is from us. What is it called again? Caswell, help me here with the expression. Taxpayers' monies are being given to assist in the context of the management and the work of the what is it, the Barbados Alliance to End Homelessness, and he's in every right. He repeatedly forced it. The public want to know if our money is being spent. We want to know where it's being spent. And again, as I mentioned a moment ago, he queried whether it was going to be repeated every year. And that question has not been answered by the minister, because I want to believe that while the government is helping to subsidize the non-NGO at the moment, that there must be some efforts that they're making on their own to raise funds. There are tons and tons of philanthropic donors. As a matter of fact, when I was reading the article in September 2010, there was a mention of a major conglomerate here in Barbados, I believe, assisting with that. And that was a trip. That was a trip for training. So I would want to know what is Mr. Safri receiving from other sources. That is something we need to know. And why is the government having to inject $500,000 into the organization? Are they short of funds? Did the matter that Mr. What's his name just raised? I forget his name, even though he was just there. Is that a matter in terms of the partnership that has not materialized the way they expected? Why is the government having to input $500,000 into that particular entity? It's not that we're against it, and people need to understand that. We do have homeless in Barbados. I don't know exactly to the degree of how serious it is. Most of the time I travel around the city and I see the people around the city area. But I don't know the degree to which Barbados as a country suffers with homelessness. What degree? How large is that problem in the country? I listened to the debates yesterday, and I couldn't get a grip on how serious that issue is.
Okay.
You know, so.
Right, which is the same thing Mr. Cadogan is saying. He's not sure of that the numbers are that. I don't know. I can't say anything about numbers. Mr. Franklin or Kimar, before we move on from this subject, is there anything you want to add to this? You're muted, Mr. Franklin.
It's not really.
Sorry to interrupt you, Caswell, but I see a comment there about homelessness, a population and country issue. Government should fund homelessness. I don't fully agree with that statement. Government can assist, but there are philanthropic people around the country. There are very wealthy people who are interested in assisting. The problem is that they often don't trust those persons who are managing these areas. I am dealing with a ton of philanthropic people overseas, and the major issue is, can they trust the people they're giving their money to? So I don't believe that this is something. I think the church should be involved in it. I think NGOs should be assisting in it. I don't think government should exclusively be the persons putting into that. And I think the minister himself expressed to some degree that aspect, where they would like to see more involvement from the non-governmental entities in helping to alleviate some of these problems. Sorry, guys, we'll go ahead.
Okay.
No, no. All I wanted to say is that, and I'm going to talk about me again. Rather than worry about me, who don't receive money from everybody else, government is not looking into where it gives its money, and there, and that money, there have been questions about it. As a matter of fact, the same Safri had some awful things to say about Minister Humphrey. So a few weeks ago, when he was overseas in Chile, he didn't respond at the time because he was not getting what he was looking for. My question here is, when the government gives him money or anybody's money, they are required to account for it. Is this money accounted for? Is he? I'm not ask, I'm asking a question. Is
Well, he says it is.
building properties for himself, and instead of transferring the money for what is intended, is he using the money for his own purposes? Is he paying himself too much? Because let me tell you something. I was doing some research into charities in the United States and stuff, and a lot of these charities, reputable charities, they receive money, and sometimes as much as 90% go into administration.
Yes.
Administration of the things, salaries and whatever else, and the
Red
people who are
Cross.
intended for the money never get there. So government, rather than bother about me, should see where it's putting the money, because they have not given me a red cent. They wanted to give me a car and they won't take it. So they won't have to guess and see how much I do with the people's car. So don't worry about people that don't take your money. Ask about these things and answer Ralph Torn, because Ralph has a right to ask. I have a right to ask. Everybody has a right to ask, because the money comes from money going to market and they pay a VAT or any other taxes they pay. That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
It's people's money. So the government should be investigating, and they should be able to answer those questions. Rather than answer, oh, tell me, I don't want you to call any names, but I want you to tell me which unions comply. Foolish man. Is he complying with his duties as a minister of government and taking care of the prisoners? Because they are prisoners, that doesn't mean they're not human beings. They got mothers and fathers and children. I
Yeah.
think you see him, Sean, they talk about earlier, had a twin brother. I know they don't know the facts about his death. They don't know.
Sorry, were you finished, Mr. Franklin?
Yes, I just said they don't know.
Okay. But let me just say thank you for that. Let me just say before I'm waiting on Mr. Glenmurray. I'm not sure if he's able to come on. I'm not seeing him on. But let me just say something that I remember, Kimar, when we were doing, say, for example, the Barrow film. They don't just, the government at that particular time, they didn't just send the money straight to us. What they did, Kimar, they paid the service providers. Okay? So we got, after I done fight up, and we did get the money that we were supposed to with the movie, to make the movie with, we had to send in invoices, Mr. Franklin, and then they would, they don't pay money out like that. So I don't understand. I mean, what this query would be for, because who would write, I don't know if they write just $500,000 and give to someone, or in my case, we had to provide invoices for airfare, for equipment, for whatever location, anything. Sometimes we have to put up our own money, and then they reimburse us, and we have to always provide invoices. So I don't know. I just have to say that out there, because that is how I know. And just to send out a little thing, if you want, go ahead and investigate the movies. You can go right ahead, because every cent we got, we had to send in an invoice. All right, so just know that.
Well, let me answer that for you. Government does not give you a check for the $500,000 one time. They might give you in tranches, because some of them might not have the $100,000 right now. Just like in Parliament, you used to give the parties $150,000 a year, and they would give you in 2 tranches. They used to give you in 2 tranches, 75,000 one, 70,000 next. But you're supposed to account for it. Even the political parties have to say how they spent this money. When you give people a subvention, the government would submit what you want this money for, and the government will give you for that purpose. Now the Auditor General is required to look into it, but the Auditor General got no staff, so there are a lot of times the Auditor General don't even get near the lot of this money that the government has spent, because they don't even have time enough to check all the government departments, far less the statutory boards and now people who government gives significant funding to. So that money could just go in there. People don't, just like, for instance, the unions are given money for training by government, and UPW and Barbados Workers Union, they give money ostensibly for training, but the training includes like bills and all kind of stuff when the union got money to pay them. But the General has never checked. And for instance, the BW don't do any training anymore. I just checking the estimate to see if this money coming this year, but the money is given for training. But they just give you, it's like a bribe. They give you some money to keep you going, so that when they want a favor from you, you would be able to don't press the government so hard. Unfortunately or fortunately, because this guy keeps a lot of noise, so he gets the money. You know, that's just to quiet him down. It's just $500,000 to be quiet him down and give the money. That's what this is all about. Yeah. And I doubt there's gonna be any real checking. Nobody can send to corporate affairs and check and see if he's expending the money he should, because he is not now criticizing the government the way the government behave.
Yeah, but I mean, I never trained, and I'm glad they never wrote a check and just gave to me. I've always had to provide invoices, and I'm glad that is what ours was like that. But Kimar, just a few minutes, and Mr. Glenn Murray, I gave him the wrong link, so let me just publicly apologize to him for that. He's been waiting backstage on the wrong link, and my apologies, Mr. Murray. Please use the one I sent you. I'm very, very sorry. Go ahead, Kimar.
Well, a lot of the questions and queries that were raised tonight were answered on Alternate Views last Thursday. So in all fairness to Mr. Safri, some of the questions that were asked here, in my opinion, are politically charged, in the sense that it will give the wrong impression if we don't hear from Mr. Safri. And quite frankly, he answered a lot of these questions and gave us upfront information in the interview. So for those persons who may not watch the interview, we should at least give him the courtesy to come and answer these questions, because here we are speaking about a man who took up a cause that nobody else was interested in, right? And going out there and doing a lot in terms of, we're not saying that everything is above board.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'm not discussing that aspect. I'm looking at the fact that this is an organization that is vital to the country. It's tackling a very serious issue in the country. And well, transparency is required. And know the fact that you're receiving government funds. A trail. And this is not Mr. Safri's fault, no. If the government is giving him money, it is the government's responsibility to go and check behind him.
Correct. That I agree with. As I said, Kimar, in my case, I never got a check like that. We always had to produce invoices, and they don't pay us, they pay service providers. So I don't understand why they would lapse and just, but I'm saying, Caswell just explained that in some cases they do that. So
right. So my thing is here, and I didn't want to say, but I'm going to say, I will not allow myself to be used to fight any political battles for anybody, to potentially destroy anybody's character, right? Because I heard Mr. Thorne. I heard Mr. Thorne, and particularly something caught my attention. when he said that Mr. Safri was canvassing in St. Michael East. Now, you've moved the conversation from the homeless shelter and you mixed it with politics. Right? You know, mix it with politics. That the conversation about the homelessness and the running the shelter is now tied in to what is happening politically.
Yeah.
Right?
But one would say hold it there because Mr. Thing is late in coming, and one could also say that Mr. Safri is also the one who mixed the homelessness and the whole political thing. But let's come back to that after we because Mr. Blind Murray had been waiting behind there with the wrong link. I sent him the wrong link. But Mr. Murray, good night, sir.
Good night. Good night to all. The link, because of the wrong link, I missed probably 15 or 20 minutes of your discussion, so I'm a little lost, but I will try to pick up as I go along. First of all, I say thanks for inviting me again. Thanks for allowing me to participate, and so far it has been an intriguing night. If I might jump right in, first of all, what's happening now over these estimates and the way they're being manipulated by government, and I will give you some details of why I say it's being manipulated. When I was growing up in Spoonfield, there used to be a saying, before we knew anything about freedom of speech, a right to the Constitution, and entrenched rights, we knew there was a Barbadian saying, quote unquote, you can shut the park gate, but you can't shut my mouth. I don't know if Caswell or Ferdinand are familiar with that. You can shut the park gate, but you can't shut my mouth. We used to live by that mantra in Spoonfield. And what that means, Queen's Park Gate, I think it was 9 o'clock. I think it's the Governor's Gate, used to be shut every night at 9 o'clock to prevent the public from entering. So people say you can shut that, but you can't shut my mouth. I have to talk. And I think that is what is happening in Barbados now. As a result of the Marshall Week, they are able to capitalize on that entrenched traditional way of speaking your mind. I don't think we should let anybody push us off track. Where Mr. Safri is concerned, I don't know if Caswell said it, but when government generally promises you money, $500,000, $1 million, you don't usually get it once. You get it in tranches, depending on the flow of government funds. There must be income to have expenditure. Government must get revenue to be able to, so they give it to you in bits and pieces. So it's $1 million on the books, but it doesn't mean you get $1 million for you to go ahead and spend it one time. Right? Generally speaking, it does not work like that. So that is something that we have to bear in mind. We hear these numbers being floated out and trotted out to impress people one way or the other. The other thing is that I watched the CBC News tonight, and there was a feature put out by the so-called Public Affairs Department. I've always referred to it as Political Affairs Department because it's been political affairs from the time of COVID, in which it's called Takeaways from the Estimates, in which there was a sit-down with Minister Humphrey and two of his officers, I think the PS and Ms. Walcott, where he was giving what he thought came out of the budget and to be remembered, the highlights and whatnot. After spending so much time on national television, exposing, answering questions, then they have to put that. I think it's overkill. I think they seem anxious to browbeat you, to force you to watch and listen what they say. People will judge for themselves. You don't have to beat them over the ears with it at all. What was also interesting about that thing is that there were captions on the screen as the persons came on camera and spoke. Now, if you watch CBC News, nightly news, which I do as a habit, more than anything else, they nowadays do not put captions. The reporter said, well, Marcia Week said that today, sure, everybody, there's no caption anymore. When you see newscasts, when they bring excerpts from like islands or other countries, there's always a caption to identify the person on camera speaking. All of a sudden, CBC, I don't know if it's high tech or they're too lazy. I don't know if they don't have the equipment, but all of a sudden, captions have disappeared from. So you're not able to identify exactly who is speaking or follow up or reference or whatever. So I was amazed that they can't do it for the nightly newscast, but they can do it for a special like a special program called Takeaways from Estimates uh, um, from the estimates. I think so far that the estimates have been largely boring. Unfortunately, boring. And I need to apologize for the role I played in bringing about the Parliamentary channel. Prime Minister has asked me to manage that process. I work with myself, the late Erskine Canada, who is government chief emission officer, and a Glenn husband, the chief engineer for CBC. And we set up the Parliamentary channel as it is now. It was not supposed to new. It was not supposed. The reason why we did it for CBC to carry government programs at time, they very often have to give up advertising. So we thought it'd be best to let them pursue advertising, set up a channel which was supposed to be not only used for Parliament, but it was going to be used out of the government. Of the government, they had the Ministry of Education had a Gordon Corbin studio on Government Hill next to a primary school, and between Springer and a primary school, and that was supposed to be. They had some studios there, so they were to produce between them and GIS, where they produce program. We will be showing on going base. They'd be being into schools, certain educational. So it was supposed to be a whole big network, but nowadays it's only used for this sterile, what has now become a very sterile exercise. So I want to apologize for the role I played, but that was not the intent for it. The problem is that there is not the quality debate coming from Parliament for long times, especially since 2018, that would give people the kind of satisfaction that they want to get out of that. I think Caswell would know that, the older folks would know that what I wanted, the estimates and the budgets were two main stays of national attention, national discussion. People, it was a big occasion. Because you had a format where the minister would introduce the heads and speak of them, outlining the plans, the money, etc. And then they'd be subject to the questioning from colleagues or opposition when there was one-on-one. But now this exercise that you're having where a minister speaks for 10 minutes and then moves on to something, then you answer questions. You no longer have a coherent, consistent, clear outline of what any ministry is doing. You get spurts and bits and pieces. I think it's totally unsatisfactory. I myself, when I was Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office, I would meet with officials. We go through the year, we build our program, we work it out, put it down on paper, you get it approved, you present it. So the officers and you were part of the whole process. The minister should read the brief, internalize it, be able to speak on it and defend it, express it, convey it, and whatever. So have this exercise where you're calling on civil servants. I think it's an affront. I think it's an insult. That is not the role of the civil servant. I think it makes a mockery of me to go through a whole process. And this process normally starts in November, December, to work towards what we're doing now. So you spend all those many months preparing for estimates, go through a series of steps before you get House Assembly. Then for me to ask officers about the work that I'm supposed to do and defend, I'm supposed to defend them. They were supposed to be on hand. If I run short of information, give me information I need to answer a question, express something. They're not supposed to be in the developed parliament. This mockery that you got, this Americanization, this further Americanization of Barbadian, of our little Barbadian institution and a Barbadian way of life, I think it's a shame. It has proven it's a waste of time and the country is no better off. And I think they should admit it and go back to the old format where people have a chance to speak intelligently, cogently, explain things, and make sense of the whole process. But these snippets, I think they've bought into the American mentality that people can't concentrate for more than 3 minutes. Barbados in general, the more highly educated society across the board than the United States. We are copying and dumbing down the society where you cannot get a proper. At the end of it, I still don't know what's happening in social care. There's not enough time. There's information.
But you're thinking that it's the way it is done, you can't really follow it. Point taken. I totally understand. But let me because we started a little late with you, want to kind of move the conversation on a little bit more. Now, one of the things I know you want to talk about was the absence of the PM, who is also the Minister of Finance. I mean, this is now the estimates, and one would think that that she would be present, but she
First in history.
I was told that she was not there. So, Mr. Murray,
I,
what are your thoughts about
I,
that?
I can't ever remember a prime minister, especially one who's minister of finance, not being present for the estimates. Like I said, it was the mainstay of government's presentation, government's communication with the
Hold
public.
a minute. So we can't let this skip because Mr. Murray,
I can't recall.
I can't tell him how old you are, but he has been through many governments. Let's put it like that, Mr. Murray. Okay, you've been through how many governments you have seen and worked in?
I've been watching government since 1951.
1951. Okay, so
That's
this
right.
is important. Barbadians, listen up. So from 1951 until now, Mr. Murray is saying that he cannot remember there being the estimates happening in Parliament, and the Prime Minister or the Minister of Finance is missing. Did you hear that? Continue, Mr. Murray.
And I suspect, it has not been announced, but I suspect by watching news from Guyana, I suspect she might very well be in Guyana at the CARICOM has a government conference. But that's a meeting that could be attended by Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kerry Simmons, or Ambassador CARICOM, David Commission, or she could very well be here and communicate with them. She wants to by Zoom, which she often does when she's away. She often conducts meetings abroad and runs the government from abroad while she's away by Zoom or whatever communication. So she did not have to be in Guyana for an important occasion like this. I think this is, and she should have been here to be able to present and be prepared to engage and be part of the whole process and show her commitment to Barbadians and to her job. There's nothing more important. There's nothing that's happening in CARICOM right now, and particularly for its agenda, that could be more important than her being in Barbados to defend her government. She's Minister of Finance, Minister of Economic Affairs. She's Minister of Carrying Civil Service, 5 or 6 other ministries, and she should be here to be part of the whole process and not just depend on briefings by people as to what's going on. And I think Barbados is poor for it, and I think it's something that should not be encouraged. And Barbadians should let them know they're not accustomed to it, and they're not going to settle for it and allow it to be part of the further degradation of this very important institution of Barbados that we call Parliament.
Marcia, I don't want to interrupt Glenn too much, but the estimates is a constitutional requirement. If the estimates are not passed by the end of March,
31st of March,
the government cannot spend a single cent. A civil servant cannot be paid. You know, in the United States, they got a different version where they say, well, every so often they got to go and get some money from Detroit or not. You got to send home people. But that's what would happen in Barbados if the estimates are not passed. This is too important for the Minister of Finance to be out of the country. It should never happen. So Glenn is absolutely right. I have not been watching Parliament as long as Glenn has, but I can tell you, I have never seen a situation where the Minister of Finance was out of the country when the estimates were going. You just don't go. Sometimes there are certain times in the life of Parliament when a minister is overseas and they say, get back here, because we need to discuss something that's happening in your ministry or something else, and you gotta come back to Barbados and whatever conference you're at. There is no conference outside of Barbados right now that could require the Prime Minister's presence more than the estimates. The estimates is the budget of Barbados. What you have budgetary proposals are to supplement the estimates. That's what the estimates are. The budget is about. You have a shortfall right now of $1 billion. The budget that we have, where you call it the financial statements and budget proposals, they are supposed to tell the country, or for the country now to see how you're going to fill that gap. That's what the budget is. That's what the budgetary proposals are. The real budget for this country is the estimates. Prime Minister should be here.
Yeah. Thanks.
Glenn, you're muted. You're muted, Glenn.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you. I
Yeah.
think it's disrespectful to the country. I really think so. No, but I can't imagine Arabia doing it or madams. No other prime minister has ever. I don't get the necessity. It's actually a national crisis, but you cannot have a national crisis abroad and Barbados don't know about it. It's not impact on Barbados. Tell us why. And I think to me, it's all, you've heard me make reference to the tyranny of the majority. You've heard me talk about that principle in politics,
Yeah.
where the majority of people in a government feel that because they have the majority, especially such an overwhelming one, they can do almost anything. And we are seeing it. We are seeing it, and this action is being taken against CASWELL, Unity Workers Union. You can imagine the national occasion, and the government can find time to go and nitpick, to as Boy Child Smith used to say, peep up under his workers' union to see what he does not have. It's disgraceful. It's shameless, and the same thing. Let me also tell you about this thing. There was a picture being circulated yesterday, which supposed to purport the leader of the opposition, Ralph Thorne, to be asleep in the chamber. I don't know if it's a genuine picture or not, but
It's
the
an
point
old
is,
picture. It's an old
Okay.
one.
all right. But the point is, even if it were not old, it should never have been taken and circulated. I suspect what has happened that the communications wizards and whatnot that operate around in the prime minister's personal and official news team are delving into things to find those kind of programs, those kind of pictures that can be embarrassing to a person. Let me tell you let me tell you that normally in parliaments, the cameras are only supposed to focus on the speaker, close up to the speaker, or a wide view. I don't know if I have the jargon right, Marcia, but you tell me. But they're not supposed to pick up people's smoking, sleeping, or whatever. That's a cardinal principle. And it happened. I remember it came into being in Barbados. It used to be the cameras used to pan all over the chambers at one time. But then one caught the late David Thompson, I think when he's in opposition, biting his nails. And people made a lot of fuss out, and from then they imposed this rule that you only get close. So if you don't get somebody sleeping, laying down the desk, whatever, because it's an uncompromising. It's not embarrassing. It's not the dignity and the importance that's supposed to portray somebody in the moments, right? So I think that kind of behavior, you're going to see more and more of it as they become more and more uncomfortable. The work that's being done to expose the weaknesses in this government and its programs.
Glenn, Marcia, let me help Glenn here because this is important. When I was a senator, sometimes I would get my bills 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. That means I go to spend the night going through these bills and reading them. So I go to bed 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning after I read the bills and stuff. So I'm tired. So when I speak, I would leave my seat and I would go outside and the back and doors off. And I mentioned that to one of the people who do the operate the cameras, and they told me that you are not supposed. They were given directions. You are not supposed to go on anybody when they're sleeping.
Right.
You're not supposed to. You're only supposed to focus on the speaker, or
Right.
as Glenn said, a wide view of the thing. But you're not supposed to pick on anybody. They're not supposed to do it. They have rules against them doing that, but they won't do it for Ralph because they want to embarrass him. And they look and see how Ralph was dressed yesterday, as opposed to how he was dressed there laying down, and they told he had on the same clothes. You know, it is wicked.
Yeah, but they wanted to say that that's what he was doing. Let me ask Kimar. Kimar, let's get back to this thing about the prime minister not being here. They're saying that she went away for the 2 first days and she's going to be back now and so on. Let's move the conversation along on that, because I think that it, to me, it's a more crucial point. Kimar, do you have anything to say on that?
Well, not quite, but if I could ask your permission, please. I wasn't allowed to finish my last comment, and some things are left lingering in the minds of the audience.
Yes.
I don't want to be left out there, you know.
let me finish off with because I had a segment for Mr. Glenn Murray,
Yeah.
and I didn't. He was waiting, as I said, and so he's gone now, and he has particular things. So we're talking right now about the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister not being present. Mr. Murray, you said that that it was disrespectful of Barbadians towards Barbadians, so this to happen. In what way?
Because I don't think there's anything from part of the news on CARICOM. From looking at the so-called pressing issues in CARICOM these days, there's nothing that I know of, unless there's some secret, some great secret of national security or whatever that's happening, or some major deal that's supposed to be done while there. I have not heard, I have not suspected, I cannot imagine what could be so crucial that would merit leaving Barbados' territory for an occasion like that's when there's so when you control ministerially so much and influence so much as to what's happening in the entire governmental structure because of the very many ministerial portfolios that run. I feel you should be here, and I think the most pressing thing seems to be the situation in Haiti. With all due respect to Haiti, that cannot be more important. There's nothing that they're going to do in Georgetown over the next couple of days that can merit sacrificing your presence in Barbados to determine that you go down there. That's the more important. I cannot. I'll have to be surprised. I'll have to be advised to the country. But I see that is when you do not get. That's why you do not get official announcements about governments, ministers moving in and out, especially the prime minister. Moving. You just hear, I see, in or out, but there's no prior information. I don't like. It can't be a matter of security because they once you book a ticket on a flight, the world knows.
Mm-hmm.
So it can't be security. So I'm just saying it should not, and the public should let the government know that they will not support that kind of behavior, and that he or she, whoever it is, be here. That the other people, that's why you have a hierarchy. That's why you have a minister of foreign affairs, that's why you have an ambassador. They can very well fill in, can communicate, get briefs, all on the phone, whatever. But there's no need. I don't think it merits her being absent from Barbados on such an important occasion.
Yes, yeah. In light of that, I would like for those of us who are on I want to get your input on whether you think, how do you feel about the Prime Minister not being present? Because this is something I think that we need to register as a people. Whether you use your Facebook, you use your WhatsApp, something to register this as Barbadians, that this behavior we're not for it. If that's you, can you put your comments to me in the comment section. I want to get a feel of what your thoughts are about that, because we are paying these people. And as you are commenting, what I want to talk about tonight, because I have this on the list of things that we're talking about tonight, is should April 1st, if I remember well, is the day that we're supposed to be increasing the salary of the PM, who is hardly here, and of all these different ministers. Mr. Murray, let me ask you first, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I picked that up along the way. Politicians, parliamentarians, etc., and people who work with them and for them, have over the since last almost 40 years or more, whenever there's an increase in the public service, there used to be a time when there was, I don't know how many Barbadians would know that there was a time when parliamentarians, when the white oligarchy ran Barbados, they were not paid because they controlled the businesses, they paid themselves. Mm-hmm. And then I think when we had ministerial government in 54, I think a minister made like $600 a month, which was a lot of money in those days, because when I went to work, my first job was at $126 a month. So when a minister made it, so 5 times or 6 times that was a lot of money. And then there used to be confusion about when contention, or how how you should pay them and when. I remember Tom Adams commissioned a study by an economist to look at it, and he recommended one recommendation. His recommendation was that they should only get paid when they attended Parliament. There's nothing that will cover their work in the constituency or doing thing on behalf of the constituents. And then Tom Adams settled on the policy that whenever there is an increase in the public service, they will get the parliamentarians get the same amount. What happened though is that at one time we had the lowest, I think Mark or somebody, or you are an accountant, Marcy, you would know that the relationship, the relativity between the salary at the top and the one at the bottom was the smallest, was the narrowest in the Caribbean. And I was a permanent secretary made that many more times than I made. It was closer than any else in the Caribbean. I don't know what it is now. Maybe Mark can tell me what
six times.
6 times now? I don't know what the spread is.
They settle on 6 times back then. So a permanent secretary made 6 times Z. S1 should be 6 times Z38. 38 is the bottom of the salary scale, and S1 is permanent secretary salary. It is 6 times.
What would be the relationship between that and a minister's salary? How many times? 8 times? 10 times?
No, the ministers. You see, ministers. It is Tom Adams again who start giving ministers more money than permanent secretaries, because the permanent secretaries do the work.
With all due respect, I was a minister. I used to do work too. So
no. I'm not. I talking about the substantive work in ministry. A lot of the things that ministers do now.
You mean they run the administration?
They run the administration.
Oh, say that, but all this do the work.
And they did. But for instance, I'll give you England example. The permanent secretaries in England are different categories too. The permanent secretary in the Treasury makes more money than the British Prime Minister, because it's based on the type of work we are doing. And it used to be like that in Barbados. But the politicians in Barbados decided, no, we are in charge, we should get more. We had parliamentary secretaries that used to make less than the PS, and they push it up, because they feel like permanent secretary, that the politicians should make most money. That has not been ever the case. They got people in the United States government makes more money than the president. But it's no longer about service anymore. It is about how much money they could get. That is why they get the pensions, because like talk about people never getting paid back in the 50s. Pensions only came up in 1969.
And I'm a big defender of pensions, not because I'm a benefit one, but I used to work. In 9 years, I had one vacation. One vacation. I worked every day, never had a sick leave. And for 9 years, and I think I earned the right in 9 years. And one of these I would tell about some of the things I did, and I was responsible for many of which still exist today. So I think I earned my keep, and I feel I earned the right that I should not have, at my age, once you are tainted by politics in Barbados, once you're no longer a minister, once you're no longer a prime minister, you become a nobody overnight in Barbados.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm a great supporter of pensions too, but I don't like the idea that a politician will get pension after 8 years. 8 years.
That's a detail. I don't think 8 years. I think I will go with that too, or at 50 or 55. But in principle, let me give you how pensions came about. There used to be a man called Victor Vaughan, who ran in the federal parliament elections, was elected. I went to Trinidad to federal parliament. That's the seat that Albar inherited in 58 when Victor Vaughan left. The federation went from 58 to 62. When the federation ended, he came back to Barbados and had nothing. He died penniless in St. Michael's District Hospital. Had nothing because nobody envisioned that the federation ended so long. There was no provision of pension. So I think if people are making a contribution, there should be something that they'll fall back on. They can fall back in their older years or in the lesser years. That's all the details.
It's called national insurance. That's what they give everybody else.
Mr. Franklin, the question is though that we were talking about the point we're making was about the salaries, because that is something that people are asking about currently, and we try to tap into that. So, Mr. Franklin, I know you touched on this a little bit some other night, but April 1st is coming up, and people, I got so many messages about that today. People are really concerned. Is there anything that really can be done about that? Because the increase, everybody is supposed to have gotten this increase already, and it's now their turn by April 1st. Is it that we will have to sit down and and allow them to get this increase?
Now, Glenn is correct. You get the same increase. And that's why I tell you I don't like percentage increases, because
Yes,
a
I understand
3%
that.
increase for the Prime Minister was over $1,000. At the bottom of the salary scale, it was only 104. You see what I mean? So it is a joke.
Yeah.
But every civil servant now will get an increase at the first of April too. Not only the Prime Minister. What some person was saying, I think it was Ferdinand. He was
Ferdinand, yes.
saying that they can refuse it, and I explained that there has been a refusal of salaries. I remember in the Dems were saying, well, they're going to refuse their salaries, their increase and that
The
kind of stuff.
increase.
So it can happen.
Weren't they supposed to divert that increase to charities?
Charity.
They chose a charity, and
They chose a charity and give the increase
increase.
to,
Some, I think most of them did, if not all, or
right?
probably all. I forgot the
So
details now.
so this is what people are asking for now in Barbados, that the Prime Minister is making so much, for she got to take care of she and her family, her children and stuff. So you got all that money.
But the prime minister making so much. Every prime minister had made relatively more much than other people
I'm not
before they
saying
became
that,
prime
and
minister.
I'm not saying that, and
Let me please let me finish. So therefore, the public knows that leaders always get an advantage. A big car, if you put a class of dogs, the leader of that pack, we get the biggest piece of meat or the first. That is instinctive in human beings, and the leader always has an advantage. So if you know it ahead of time, you should have protested before or since you know it. But the law says that if this is the policy, I think it'd be unfair and unjustified to try to change it in midstream. Maybe campaign on that before the next increase comes and work out a different formula as to how or what people should get. But as it is now, I don't think it makes sense even trying to change it. People have to suck up and bear it and deal with it in the process of time to come.
that's not what people are asking. People are saying, well, look, the Dems, and one of them here is making a comment. The Dems said they're going to give up, I think it was 10% of their thing. He said, why these people can't give up when people in Barbados are suffering so much? And it wouldn't be much. It's only 3%. For the Prime Minister, that's $1,000. $1,000 ain't no big thing for the Prime Minister. Her entertainment allowance alone is more than what half the public service gets as salary. So that's what people are saying now.
I understand. If they were of that orientation, they've had plenty of time since 2018 to do that. They should establish that as a proposal to show leadership, to show sacrifice, so that we are all in it together by giving up something. If it happens, I don't suspect it will happen.
But that is what they're saying. They're saying we're in this together, and the people, not me, the people, because I am one of the people who say that governance is not cheap, should not be cheap, because when you give a politician a salary, a small salary, he can thief. Not that because he can send so much money passing through his hand and thing, and if you don't give him a decent salary, he can find a way to make it. But the contracts that he award, he might get $7,500 every pop when the people that go in his ministry, that kind of thing. So,
Caswell, one last comment.
Okay,
if a person is inclined to steal, they will steal if the money is big or small. If you have socialized your morals and your principles, you will do it. So what you pay them is relative. They will, or if they're greedy and they're thieves, they will just have a chance to steal more. That's all.
Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore, says exactly what I'm saying.
Mr. Franklin, let's move on from here, because there's so many topics to discuss, and I want to address somebody here who is saying that Kimar has not said anything for since he came on, and that is not true. Kimar has spoken extensively on Mr. What did you talk about?
Saffrey.
Huh? The minister Abrams. Okay, he spoke
Right.
about spoke about Caswell, etc. Now, when Kimar came on, let's address it because I am not going to pretend. When Kimar came on, we were ready now to move on to another segment. I mean, sorry, when Mr. Murray came on, he had been waiting, remember, and I apologize for 20 minutes because I sent him another link. We had finished in terms of time talking about Mr. Saffrey. Okay, so I said to Kimar, hold that thought. Let me let Mr. Murray speak because he had been waiting on a different link, and I apologize to publicly. Okay, so
No
nobody's
problem.
stopping Kimar from speaking. Okay, so let us be clear on that. There are particular things that we advertise that I want to make sure that we actually address those things. So we have two more things to address, but I'm going to, before we go on, thank you, Mr. Murray. Let me just say thank you so much for your contribution
You're welcome.
to the discussion today and what happened in the estimate. So, Kimar, could you make the point you were making about Mr. Saffrey? And then we are going to now go on to the White Oaks comment that Mr. The loyal, what am I saying?
The loyal opposition, Mr. Thorne.
Mr. Thorne, I'm sorry,
Right.
that he made in Parliament today. So go ahead, Kimar.
Yes. Right. I was saying that while I understand a need for transparency surrounding the organization is a private organization, it's not a government organization. It is not government, or it's not a government organization. So, but what is there to tackle the issue of homelessness? That organization is funded by private sources in its majority, according to what he said. That's what he said, and he said that the first $250,000 of the allocation was less shelter onto a 24-hour operation, and the other 250,000 was there to run the operations of the shelter. Now, I ain't here to dispute if it's too much, if it's too little. That is not my fight here. Well, the question from Mr. Thorne is very important. We've now trespassed onto political grounds. And I would say if Kimar Saffrey wants to run for the Barbados Labour Party in St. Michael East, that is his right and prerogative to do so. Right? That is his right to do so if he wants to run. He denied it, right? But I'm saying if he wants to come into public life, that's his right, and the public will hold him up to that scrutiny to find out if what is happening in his organization, although it's a private organization, if it checks out, because they need to ensure that they could trust the officials who purport to be public officials in tackling these issues. Now, the point about canvassing in St. Michael East, I will not hide my mouth on this one, right? I have heard Trevor Prescott, who's the current representative of St. Michael East, constantly throwing pot shots at Kimar Saffrey in public about wanting to take over his seat in St. Michael East. Right? I've heard it. Many other people in the public have heard it. Right? So it is a convenient no that all of these things are coming out about Mr. Saffrey because he wants to come into politics and all of that. They will conveniently come out because it is beneficial to some people in the Barbados Labour Party that he's destroyed. Right? So my thing here is, well, we're on the show to deal with the homeless and deal with the matter of transparency, and I fully support that. We need the transparency. People need answers. right? And Safri should come and provide answers to people again if necessary. But where I draw the line now is that I will not allow myself to be conveniently used as set up to destroy anybody for political convenience because somebody don't want to move out the seat and the few threatened. Not me, right? So just to cap off on that point, because I don't want to linger on to it, transparency is needed. If you're getting government money, you should subject yourself to an audit so that we, the public, can see. Your statement should be published now, that we can see how the government money is being spent. And the government should know better, that they should have auditors on staff. Right? They should have auditors on staff in the Ministry of Social Care or people in Parliament or whatever, to go to wherever the government has spent money and do an audit. If you receive government money, you should agree to subject yourself to an audit from government, right? So that's just my 2 cents on that.
If I might steal a second, Kimar, I thought it was a little unfortunate that it was mentioned in Parliament, because in that context, I thought that like you had tainted the whole perception and the reputation and the operations. And when you're dealing with, especially international organizations, the idea, and they think that we're all corrupt banana republics in this part of the world, the mention of political involvement always runs afoul, causes a problem. I was saying, I was hoping that it would not injure Mr. Safri's chances of operating in the future. As far as I know, Mr. Safri is operating a legitimate exercise. Until I know differently, I will always see that. But I also want to say too that I did not hear all of the discussion of the earlier discussion about the supposed land to be bought in St. Philip. But I was a little uncomfortable with discussion too. It was a little too wide, and I wasn't happy. I think in future, persons should be scrutinized first and checked before we bring them to the public, because there are all kind of motives out there happening, competition, organizations, people look for funding and want prestige and whatnot. And I think that that was unfortunate. Again, that coming out on the heels of what was asked, what was mentioned about Kevin Safri and the money and running for the. I think that could, and I hope it does not, affect his chances of having his organization go to further strength and do much more good for Barbados.
Okay. All right. Kimar, so that you're completed your response about that? Just double checking. Yeah.
Just to wrap up quickly, the issue of tackling homelessness is a very important issue, and we need not to allow political machinations to stretch over into tackling this issue of homelessness, right? So, yes, I understand and I agree with Mr. Murray. The question was raised on the floor of Parliament, right? And it brought a political spin to it. But you understand now that in the background, there's political war going on over in the Barbados Labour Party, right? And I don't want us, particularly those on the show, to be caught up in the Barbados Labour Party's political wars. I'm missing the point as to why we're here for the people, right? The problem right now here is the homeless people. They're saying that they're not getting what they're not getting things. People have questions. Let us ask those questions from the perspective of the homeless shelter and the problem of homelessness, and not bring it over to his canvases in St. Michael East because of that statement that I hear Trevor Presser constantly making and throwing shots at him about wanting to take his constituency. I will not be a part of that.
Right.
And that's my last comment.
Right, last comment. Okay, thanks, Kimar. Just to say, just to clarify that it was raised, I raised the issue not because of any, his political leanings or what his interests, right? while I also happen to believe what you're saying, when I saw it, I'm very discerning. I pick up things, but I really brought it to this discussion as it relates to questions being asked about how the money was being spent for accountability. And as somebody who received money from the government, I know how I receive it, and so it was brought up in that light. But thank you for that contribution. All right, moving along. There is something else that Mr. Thorne spoke about in Parliament that was in the Starcom report this evening, and he spoke about the 30 million US dollars fee for the company that advised on the Barbados debt restructuring. And I started off the program by saying that this is something that Kimar spoke about in his book. And so we're going to just spend a couple minutes talking about that, because this is now what is good about it is that while this is something that we would have read in the book and we talked about this on the show and it's talked about all about, it was now being raised in Parliament. And so, Kimar, what are your thoughts about that now that you've heard it being raised in Parliament?
Yes, well, I celebrate Mr. Thorne for raising the issue. Such a brave heart, and that's why I love him so much. So thank you, sir, for raising the issue. In all fairness, I've heard former opposition leader Bishop Joseph Ashley raising these issues. I also heard Mr. Franklin in the Senate taking them through all forms of the weather: snow, sun, hail, everything about White Oaks. And as you rightfully said, Marcia, and again, I want to thank you personally, Marcia, as well, for accommodating me on the show in the earlier stages in terms of raising these issues to the public. White Oaks, the government paid 54 million Barbados dollars to two men in a backroom shop. Right? Two men in a backroom shop. And when you check out the financial statements, these people made $0. Right? They made $0. And the government, you're muted. You're muted. Right.
No, I said pound. I said pounds.
Yes, £0.
They did file with companies house.
Yeah, right. They filed with company house. Company house is equivalent to our corporate affairs.
Corporate affairs
report. They made $0, and the government gave them 54 million Barbados dollars. Signed a deal with White Oak without a cabinet in place. Right? The Prime Minister signed a deal with White Oak for $54 million, and there was no cabinet in place. Right? That should be investigated, and she should be charged to return the people's money, because how can you be signing off on a deal? Right? The government announced it on the 1st of June 2018. Right? Elections were in May 20. The cabinet was not in place. How could you be signing off on White Oaks without a cabinet in place, and you paid absurd amounts of money to these companies? This was the highest and most expensive debt restructuring in the world. And as Mr. Thorne rightfully said, you paid more than Greece, right? And Greece was in far more debt than Barbados. But I just want to quote here for alternative views. It says here, according to White Oaks' engagement letter, the government had agreed to pay the firm over 21 million US for the successful restructuring of roughly $5 billion of domestic debts, excluding the arrears. And it shall be noted that the letter was signed 5 days after the Prime Minister was sworn in on May the 25th, 2018. Again, there was no cabinet in place at that time. And 2 days before the government announced that it was defaulting on its debts. Right?
Somebody wants to know what the page is, what page in the book?
This is page 27, chapter 1, the very first chapter.
Yeah.
Right? And it says here, the Financial Times, Marcia, I don't know if you could pull it up, the article from the Financial Times.
Financial Times, yes, I think
Right?
we have that. We're going to get that up. Yes, go ahead.
The Financial Times said that they could not believe that the government was paying such absurd amounts. And the international world criticized Barbados seriously and launched an attack on the government of Barbados for paying that amount of fees, right? So it says here that once complete, the government is set to pay $4 million for restructuring approximately $910 million of debt owed to foreign investors, right? So they only restructured approximately $1 billion in foreign debt. But today, we have over $5 billion that the government borrowed since that restructuring, right? And it says also that the firm is receiving approximately $85,000 a month as a retainer. No, it's $85,000 a month. And Maskell said in Barbados that we did not have the people here in Barbados who were educated enough to be able to do a debt restructuring. That was the most absurd thing I said, because Dr. Delaware could have done that restructuring. I always say that because Dr. Delaware had to then turn around and defend those foreign investors that the government refused to pay back. He had to defend them to force the government to come to an arrangement to pay back those people, right? That is what happened. And also, it says that it is likely to take another 12 months to finalize the deal. According to the persons involved in the negotiation, an additional $2 million in monthly fees, which brought the total payout from Barbados to roughly $27 million US to White Oaks. And this hasty move came under severe scrutiny as Barbados was featured in the Financial Times for overpaying White Oaks fees, a small boutique firm unheard of by most people. And the international creditors formed a committee appointed former governor of the central bank, Dr. Delaware, to lead negotiations on their behalf against the government's negotiators, which included the attorney general and some other people, right? And it says here that it took approximately 18 months now, where Rand Strong came back and said that the government reached a deal with the external creditors, which previously they said it was going to take 12 months, but he came back in 18 months, which means that $85,000 a month adding on every month, right? And the creditors and the government of Barbados had a public spat arguing all over the newspapers about how these negotiations were handled according to how White Oaks handled this, right? So this is scandalous. And the international media, along with quite a other few economic analysts, even Jeremy Stevens, economists, criticized this White Oak deal, right? And I heard Mr. Dugade speaking so much trash today about White Oaks. I really wish that I could have got in there to say a thing or two, because this was not a good deal for Barbados, right? This is not a good deal. Marshall, do you know that we are still banned from international credit markets because of how the government handled this debt restructuring that White Oaks did? We're still banned. And the reason that we have to pay so much now whenever we do return to international credit market is because of what White Oaks did, right? So, Mr. Torrance shall launch an investigation as to why the Prime Minister could have signed a deal with White Oaks 5 days after she was sworn in, without a cabinet in place, why the deal took so long, and why you were paying such absurd amounts of money. But you know what? You know who was involved again? Avinash Prasad, right? Avinash Prasad. So we should ask also, if Avinash Prasad got a finder's fee for White Oaks, and how much Avinash Prasad was paid, if he was paid, to manage this White Oaks situation. Okay. Well, I'll end here for now.
Marcia, I just want to support Kimar. I can tell you why. 28th of May elections. 29th, victory celebration, that kind of stuff. Gov, that does not mean that the cabinet will be able to get in there and look at the finances of the government to make a decision to go into our pockets, because of many people's pockets to take away the money. Remember the write off people's money? They did this. Martin got to be the biggest genius in the world to know what was happening in government finances. She was in opposition. She did not have anything to do with the government finances. She couldn't have known. But yet still, you have a situation where you could engage a firm of 2 people within 5 days. This means that this was ongoing before the election. Because government don't hire anybody in 2 days. You don't even hire a fellow to clean the street in 2 days. And they were here and engaged within 6 days of the election. Something has to be wrong. And Glenn was in government, so Glenn, I see him signaling. How did the government get into there and look at the government finances and know what we were supposed to do? But we didn't have a government in place yet. We only had a prime minister and an attorney general. Right? So how this deal was done, when I heard about it, you know me, I went and I checked against what was about Kimar was telling you that he's here in the Senate, because I went and I searched to discover that White Oaks was a broke company, didn't have any work, and for the 2 years prior to Barbados government engaging them, they had filed returns with Company House. Like I didn't file my thing with Corporate Affairs, they didn't file with Company House. And they filed with Company House, but their returns were them 0.00 pounds. They made that princely sum of money in 2 years prior, and they were talking about, they were out there when the government was saying how these are international people, how they go at all this business and they're highly successful. They're highly successful. If you're highly successful, man, you don't make 0 pounds. And they went and they look, it cannot be the truth. Glenn was in government. Let him talk now, because he would know about how getting into these things. Let Glenn talk, Marcel. Let me you know about it.
Thank you, Kevin. First of all, you'll recall that I recall very well that the government boasted about the speed with which they got certain things done, the speed with which they were to reach an agreement with the IMF for the arrangements that were made, the program that we went into with the IMF. They bragged that they were working on it for about 1.5 to 2 years before. And you must remember that Dr. Kevin Greenwich was on assignment from the IMF in Barbados, for some time paid for by the CDB and other persons. And they bragged how they were so clever. They got there so quickly and so speedy. So I suspect that engagement with the White Coat was all part of the same connection. And like you said, like Kimar said, the recurring decimal in this matter is Mr. Persson. I heard White Oak being described as a boutique. It was a one door, just a euphemism, a fancy. It was a one door operation, right? So the boutique thing is just to give it a euphemistic name to make it sound decent.
One door, 2 chairs.
So the thing is, what we need is for the Prime Minister to sit down, because she has not sat down with a Barbadian journalist one-on-one since 2018, July 2018. She has not, when she sat down with David, she has not sat down. She needs to sit herself down, and if the press in Barbados had any guts, they would boycott any briefings till they get a series of sit-down press conferences with the Prime Minister and her cabinet. Refuse to go to certain things until this happens. That's what they should do. But the press in Barbados, Marcia, I want to have a special session to deal the press in Barbados. So what you're seeing with the press in Barbados did not happen since 2018. The seeds for this degradation, complaints were set many years before that, which I will explain to you when it happened. But the Prime Minister needs to sit down and answer these questions one on one with one or two good journalists. I don't know who will have the guts enough, the professional enough to ask this question, because they would do it with somebody, but come and sit down and answer these burning questions. Because I've all when you watch a Western movie and you see a new stagecoach riding to town or a new train coming town, invariably they be a very sharply dressed person, past talking slick, who you would call a snake oil chairman, snake oil salesman. You sell all kind of cures to cancer and your height and your weight, your color, talking fast and sweet. That is what happened in this midst of this whole operation, right? That is a recurring problem here, and that whole person and their involvement should be brought to account someday to find out how much they made, what damage they did for Barbados, and God knows what else we are in now that has not yet come to light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Kimar.
Sorry. Yes. I just wanted to paint some detail as to what White Oaks did in Barbados. As the opposition leader rightfully said, they took $1 billion out of the national insurance, just write it off with a stroke of a pen, gone. Up to now, the national insurance is still owed $1 billion. They took $1 billion from the Central Bank of Barbados, just wrote it off. People who had treasury bills, they just wrote off people's treasury bills, and that has not happened. That happened at least 3 times in the world: Russia, Ukraine, and Uruguay. 3 times. And Barbados made history in restructuring and robbing those people of the treasury bills, right? So we still owe the central bank $1 billion, the NIS $1 billion, we owe more treasury bills, right? And local people still are not receiving the debt that the government owed to them. And the government is paying people in bonds because they passed this debt settlement bill, which says that if the government owes you any legal claims, if you sue the government and they owe you money, they pay you in bonds. If they took over your property and your house, they will then pay you in bonds. If you had any medical injuries and the government owes you money, they pay you in bonds. How could that be spectacular advice for $54 million, right? So it is not like they did an excellent job. The last thing that a lot of people don't want to address, they completely destroyed the banking sector in this country. And that's why we are being bleeded for these banking fees, Marcia, because the banks, right? The last government was forcing the banks to borrow more than they really wanted to, because the banks were refusing to lend money, right? But when the government came in now and defaulted on the loan, the banks were just buying up this extra treasury paper because the government increased something called the legal reserve requirement on the banks. So the banks were forced to take up this extra government debt, not by their choice, but by the government policy. And when the government came in, they just wrote that off, destroyed that area of investment and returns for the banks. And that's why the banks are now bleeding us through our noses for fees. That is why First Caribbean is leaving Barbados, and all of the other branches I think are closing down, because they destroyed our sovereign risk profile, which says that a company operating in Barbados cannot have a higher credit rating than the government. So Sagicor, all of these big First Caribbean, all of these big companies that usually do foreign exchange transactions, borrow on the international market, the government destroyed all of those lending opportunities because a company cannot legally or politically have a credit rating or a standing that is higher than the government. And that is why a lot of the companies left Barbados and went over to Bermuda, because White Oaks and the government destroyed us with this debt restructuring deal.
Yeah. Oh man, I mean, this is something else, and I want to. I guess I'm doing a lot. I started off the program with holding up your book and saying that Kimar said it outside of Parliament, and now Ralph said it inside. I forgot that Mr. Franklin also raised it. He raised it in the Senate, and I did not know about Mr. Reverend
Bishop Athley.
Reverend Atherley. I
Bishop,
didn't know
yes, he did.
Reverend
Yeah,
Atherley.
he did. Yeah.
So let's take that back. But I want to just say that this this book, when I saw it today, Kimar, I made sure I had my book ready to show the people today. When I picked up this book from Kimar, that Kimar wrote here, I could not put it down. I promise you, if you don't have a copy of Alternate Views, that you need to get a copy of Alternate Views, because that's where I learned about White Oaks. That's where I learned about that. And not just White Oaks, but there's so many things. If he speaks about in this book, even before, what some of the things that we're doing before elections and the IMF and the bonds, and this is education right here. So I'm gonna encourage you all to try to get this book. Mr. Murray, you have
a couple of things.
so
I was
short,
listening.
short note. Go ahead.
And listening to the debate today from Parliament when White Oak came up. The government was saying that they're paid on performance. They never explained what were the benchmark, what were the criteria. They never explained. They never defined performance. And then again, I'm sure I heard Minister Strawn say that they had begun to settle the national insurance debt. That they had started to settle that. So I just thought I'd share that in that they're trying to give the impression that they're making progress on that score.
Yes. Now, what I want to do is to move the conversation along. Somebody asked, what's the name of the book? The name of the book is Alternate Views. Okay, Alternate Views. Now,
where can you get it?
You can get it on Amazon, right, Kimar?
Yeah. Well, Amazon for now don't have any more physical copies. So Amazon, it's available at the university's bookshop at KFL. There are some physical copies at KFL.
I'm happy you to sell. What's the man who sold his book well? What is the price? This is free advertising.
Well, that's $50. You know,
Okay,
small price for big knowledge.
All right.
It's a good book.
I wouldn't ask any commission for that.
Yeah, it's very good read.
And I know.
That's one of the books, as I said, and I traveled with the book as well. I was leaving Barbados. I made sure I had it with me. But CASWELL has his, and yes, this is the second night the two of us have of the book. I made sure I went and found this today when I saw Mr. Thorne speaking about that particular issue. Now, what I want to ask guys in this, we have 3 minutes. What should be the next step for Mr. Thorne on these issues that he's raised? He's raised the whole thing about trying to find getting some kind of accountability for the $500,000 that's put into the homeless, this homeless charity, and also about this White Oaks. The amount of money that was paid, the $30 million was paid to these advisors. Here's a question. What should be the next step for Mr. Thorne in this this inquiry at this time? Mr. Murray, can you go first, please?
Yeah, there used to be a device in Parliament covered with the standing orders governing the operation of the House and the Senate, where people can ask parliamentary questions. They can set out a question which would be worked out between the clerk of Parliament and the author of it, and you can ask these questions of the government. They used to be used fairly often some years ago. That it fell into serious decline, where nobody bothered to ask the question because sometimes the government took very long to answer or never answered at all. It would remain on the order paper, and then after a certain amount of time, it would just drop off the order paper. Or you can ask a private member's motion. Though Mr. Thorne would be schooled in these matters, and he can probably look at those devices to see if he can force the process and keep it. If you keep it on the order paper, it means it's in public view and mentioned for a very, very long time.
He will only be able to use the parliamentary question because if he raises a matter of private members' business, he has to have it seconded, and he ain't got a second.
Oh, thanks for that. I forgot that part. Thanks. But I would suggest he go to the parliamentary question.
Parliamentary. So that's what you're suggesting, Caswell, that Mr.
Yeah, that's the only thing he has available to him now.
Right.
That's the only thing he has available to him now. When he constitutes the Public Accounts Committee, he can ask the Auditor General to investigate certain things. But then again,
Right.
you gotta get a quorum, and the quorum gotta be formed by the government. And I think he's not gonna have a very good chance of getting the Public Accounts Committee to investigate the government. If you look, the only time that the Public Accounts Committee met under Reverend Adley was when he was checking out things that happened under the Dems.
But Caswell, I remember my memory tells me that at one time Prime Minister Arthur had changed the rules whereby the opposition was the one to provide the quorum. You didn't have to depend on the government. But because the imbalance that is no longer possible, I imagine.
Yes, that's the thing, because Ralph is the only one. He can provide a quorum.
Right.
Thompson tried to get the quorum changed to 2 when it was only he and Kelman
Right.
did not support.
I remember that.
Kelman sit down and fold his arms and look away. And when I talked about it later on in the afternoon, I said, "But nonsense, you don't embarrass your leader like that." He said, "You think somebody can I can let somebody lead me into some sort of foolishness," he said. I said, "But that's nonsense." So then Mayor got up and seconded it, and then made amendments to it. That's why we have a Public Accounts Committee Act now, because there was never an act before, because it came out of the standing orders of the House.
Okay. Right.
But now they have an act, and of course, Ralph cannot now function as the Public Accounts Committee because he has to rely on the government people to help him with a quorum. So his only bet is parliamentary questions, and keep pushing at them and exposing them, and let the public know that they might answer my question yet. Because you see how it works in the British Parliament. They've got Prime Minister question time. He's answering questions the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so that is what you're suggesting. Kimar, what do you suggest for Mr. Thorne at this point?
Well, I'd like to see something coming out of this situation. Even if somebody is not officially caught in the web, I like for him to at least give a full expose on the parliamentary privilege surrounding this issue, because I know persons like Ryan Strong will get up and have a lot to say, right? But he has a lot to say, Marcia, to the public in this country, because remember, it was on your show as well that we exposed Ryan Strong for falsifying documents to the IDB to receive loans on the questionable circumstances in the name of that Jobs and Investment Committee that was not meeting.
Okay,
right?
I remember you were making those allegations, and you were saying that the person, Mr. Arthur, was no longer with us, right? And so
Mr. Arthur left the committee and discussed early. He said it was a waste of time.
Right, and so you were wondering, and so you were making those allegations. I remember. Continue, please, Kimar.
Yes. So even if nobody is officially charged, or I would like for Mr. Turner to give a full expose of all of the facts and all of the details surrounding the White Oaks deal, and let's just sit and watch ministers get up and try to lie their way out of this situation. We saw it with the Attorney General. We're seeing it with Ryan Strong. We're seeing it with William Duguid. Everybody will get an answer except the Minister of Finance, who's the Prime Minister, because she's never here. And that is the person who needs to account for White Oaks and why she signed the deal with White Oaks without a cabinet in place. And these ministers are so disappointing that they would get up and try to defend White Oaks, and they were not even ministers at the time.
Yeah. It would be great, Kimar, if we had a session like we had with Mr. Thorne, where the people send the questions and they come on here and we just ask them the questions. I think that something like that would be fantastic. I don't know if they will ever subject themselves to that, but I
Don't
think
hold your
that is
breath.
when he would be satisfied.
Yeah.
But let's
I
have
nominate Colin Jordan.
let's have our final word as we close tonight. Mr. Murray, real half a minute. Final word, please.
I just say stand by for more of the of this skullduggery that you see taking place. There's more that will come as the government retreats into its bunker, and rather than coming to the public and give information in as part of transparency and accountability, etc., they'll try to defend themselves, hunker down, and then become resistant to the people and have their influencers, people paid by the taxpayers' money to do what political parties do themselves, either free or paid for. We now pay for out of taxpayers' money, so-called influence, which I think is a demeaning term. And it's an insulting term to try to spin their politics in the way to their advantage. And we need to talk about these other forces that are at work sometime soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Kimar, what are your final thoughts?
Well, my final thought, no, but just backtracking a bit, when Mr. Murray raised the issue of Mr. Torrance sleeping in Parliament, but it was a fit, right? But I saw that picture first posted on a former senator's Facebook page. I'm not even going to call her name because she's a public figure. Shanika Roberts Odell, who is a former senator in this country, who's the chairman of the Barbados Medicinal Cannabis Authority, and who sits on the executive at the Barbados Party National Council, and she is putting out false images. She should be charged under the cybercrime bill. She's embarrassing Mr. Thorne, right? And what she did, I posted on her, she should have shame. And the same bill that they want to lock up people with, she should be charged, and she should be giving the courts of this country $70,000 or 7 years in jail, because what she knowingly did was, I don't even know the word to call it, but they should not have done that. That is an old photo, and she should be made to apologize to Mr. Thorne for taking such an action to give the public a false impression about something she knew for a fact was a lie.
Yeah. Someone is correcting. Let's just see here saying that someone is saying that Kimar Thorne said he fell asleep. That photo was not fake. Right. So listen carefully to what Kimar is saying. Behind security. Yes, Mr. He fell asleep, but it wasn't while he was the leader of opposition. However, the way it was being sent, one would think that it happened during the estimates on Monday. And,
on day one of the estimates.
On day one, on Tuesday. Sorry about that. Okay, of the estimate. So let's be clear on that. Mr. Franklin, any final word before we close?
I don't want to give a final word. I want to give you some news.
Oh.
Australia, Queensland, Australia. The High Court in Queensland handed down a decision that those mandatory shots was unlawful, and that the people who got fired for not taking them, the police and the ambulance service people and thing, they were wrongly dismissed. You know, this is just about a day or so ago in Australia. The decision came out then. I have it here, but I can't read it for you now because it's so late. But you can check it. Just check Queensland court decisions and stuff, and you will see it. Or you can Queensland, Australia court decisions, and you can find it. So we are being vindicated more and more, but because this now is probably one of the first decisions in your court, because mine was from a tribunal. The first decision from your court that now knock back this nonsense that the governments around the world have been doing. So I wish people would stand up for their rights and don't just get cowered down into doing what the government said because they are the government. Use your head, think for yourselves, and find them going to say they try to take me away from you. They won't do that.
And we won't let that happen. Thank you so much to the panel. The panel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Murray, for coming on again. My apologies that you were
No
somewhere
problem. No problem.
you were somewhere
No,
in La La Land for 20 minutes.
no problem at all.
I mixed that up, and apologies, and thank you for graciously still coming on.
Anytime.
As usual, for your research and for being on here tonight. Tomorrow, remember that there is alternate views tomorrow, Thursday. Happens tomorrow, guys. Mr. Franklin, thanks for coming on, and I know that you're going to push through. You're not going to let them keep you down. Thank you so much. Rachel actually sent a little thing for you. I'm going to send it to you. I didn't get to play it tonight, but probably on Friday night. Okay. So God bless.
What was the viewership tonight? Any idea?
Over 1,500.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining. Thank you so much. The fight was on. We were fighting tonight. We're fighting tonight. Not fighting each other, but we have lots of things that we're fighting. So God bless you all, and see you all on Alternate Views, and then we're on the Marcia Week show on Friday. Okay? God
All
bless
right.
you.
Good.
Bye-bye.
Same to you. Goodbye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.